Rocci, Calvi, welcome to Not Your Thoughts.
Not your thoughts.
Not Your Thoughts. The spot, we made it. We made it.
We did.
Long awaited. We built, I've been
We
trying to
did.
get you for a while and
Yep.
we finally made it. Good way to end the year for me. So thank you for making the time, man.
Thank you, brother.
What's 3 ways you'd describe yourself? 3 words you'd use to describe yourself?
This is hard. This is like a psychology question.
Yeah.
I
And
feel
it's like, what do you present? What do you want to say to the,
It's like, how do I want to come across to the audience? So I want to show my immature side, my mature side.
Just be you, man.
Oh, shit. 3 words. 3 words to describe myself. All right. 1 would definitely be persistence. I'm very persistent.
Yeah.
Or, as my wife would say, stubborn. So see it how you will.
Same, different side of the same coin.
Yeah, no, persistent and stubborn. Yeah, all on the same coin. I don't know, like for each word, like I think of like I can be immature, but then I can be super mature.
Yeah, yeah.
So it's kind of like the 2 faces of each coin.
I take that as childlike, and I
Yeah.
use that word like with fucking pride to have that child kind of
Youthfulness.
element. Youthful, yeah, we
Yeah.
like youthful.
When people ask my age and I tell them, and they're like, "Oh, okay, I didn't think you were that old," and I'm like, "Is that a compliment?"
Yeah, it's the
or
backhanded compliment.
call me mature, or and a third one. I'd say I'm driven. I'm motivated.
Yeah, nice, man.
Very driven and motivated. I'm always trying to look for that. I'm very goal orientated as well, and I feel that ties into me being an athlete, but also being a coach, because I'm driven for my own goals, and I'm always looking for that next. Like I'm looking to set that next goal, and then as soon as I accomplish it, I'm like, okay, cool. What else can I achieve? Like, what's
Right,
the next thing?
yeah.
And then I look to my clients for that as well, because when I'm coaching my clients, I'll always say, like, what are your goals? They'll tell me, and we'll like tick one off the list. And I'm like, oh, hey, have you thought about this? Or I'll be asking them like, what else do you want to achieve?
Right. Is that intentional, or is that just kind of, is there like a force just pushing you to do something, or do you have to say like, all right, now we move? Like, is it conscious, or is that just nature nurture kind of?
I think it's in my DNA, man. I don't know if it's like ADD or ADHD or whatever you call it.
Probably, yeah.
But I'm like always, I don't know, like I can't sit still. Like recently we went on holidays and I was sitting by the pool and my wife's just kicking it. And she's like looking at me every like 5 seconds. And I'm in my head, I'm thinking, have I replied to that email, or what's that client doing? Should I check in on that client? And my brain's just still turning, and she looks at me. And she goes, can you relax? And I'm like, man, I'm relaxed.
We're chilling.
I'm chillaxed.
We're chilling.
And she's like, you're not. I can see that you're thinking. She's like, just calm, relax, just chill. Don't think about work. I was like, okay, cool. So it took me like, when we arrived, we recently went to Thailand. When we arrived there, it took me like 3 to 5 days to actually fully be present. And again, I don't know if it's like it's just in my DNA. It's just how I'm wired. So,
but it's also, I think that's true. But on that conversation, it's almost socially now. If you're not being productive, you're worthless. Like in even me now, or like me, I will use like, if I'm procrastinating for something, I'll procrastinate with something else that feels kind of productive too, but I'll never actually chill the fuck out.
Yeah.
Otherwise I feel like, I don't know, the world's leaving me behind, or I'm just not doing what I need to be doing. And it's hard, man.
you know what it is as well? I think also social media, right?
Yeah.
You jump on social media and someone will be doing a workout or opening up a barbershop or opening up a gym, or they'll be driving their new, I don't know, Lamborghini or something. Like it's such a polished world that we're looking at.
Yeah.
Some of it realistic, some of it completely not. And it's like, oh, I don't have that car, or I don't have that watch, or I don't have that house, or I haven't opened up a business. And it almost, like you say, it almost feels like you're falling behind everyone else. When really it's like, all right, well, how much is in our control, and where are we within the scope of the world?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that's, I don't know, that's something I always kind of remind myself is, okay, I might not be there, but I'm also not here.
Yeah, and then where is there as well?
Yeah.
Because like in, let's say, bodybuilding realm, you got C-Bum. He's the only guy I really know in the high level space, and Ronnie's Coleman.
2 of the most famous bodybuilders, typical.
But even him, when he kind of like, because I've heard him on Chris Williamson, the point being made is like, it really comes down to the small things and the meaningful things, and you can't be number one forever anyway. So even if you reach number one, you're not number one.
Correct.
So it's just like, not even just bodybuilding, any realm we're working on. So it's crazy. We all know it. We all agree, but what do we do? You're like, it's still just on that pathway anyway.
It is, man. I'm telling you, it's a combination. I don't know. I feel like living in Melbourne is one. Like I feel Melbourne and Sydney are two cities that when you're living in those cities, it is hustle. It's two cities where the majority of people are designed to grind, make money, move forward, open businesses.
Yeah.
It's two cities that they're just on. Whereas I find like Queensland, Perth, Adelaide, even they're a lot more relaxed. Like when you talk to the people, like I got family in Adelaide.
Yeah.
And every time they visit, they're like, "You guys are mental." And I'm like, "What do you mean?" I'm like, "We're just getting shit
They're
done."
like, it's 11 o'clock, surf time.
They're just so more laid back.
I know, but even in the construction realm, I heard, this is not fact, what I heard, it's like, literally surf is ingrained into their space. They're like, they finish not earlier, but it's just...
This in Queensland?
In Queensland, yeah. Again, don't know if it's true, but like the culture is ingrained around the beach, and that it kind of adds a calmness to it as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, we do not have that here.
No. Melbourne.
But then...
Yeah, Melbourne and Sydney, man, the culture is just to, work and get ahead.
Yeah, but then you do go Bali, or you said you went Thailand, right?
Yeah.
You do go there and you're like, fuck, we are ahead because we have been grinding.
Yeah.
And we kind of go there as kings, essentially.
Yeah.
Like, it's a double-edged sword because, you end up in a state where, like you just said, you can't even calm the fuck down when you're there. But that's the thing that's made us go there and be able to live like kings as well.
And how funny is it that when, us as a very privileged society go to a country like Thailand or Bali or, a country that's less fortunate to be where we are or not as advanced, we're like, oh, how are these people so happy? They have nothing. Well, maybe that's the secret. Maybe having less will be more content with where we're at instead of always chasing that next thing.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying like it's awesome to grind. Like I couldn't think of any other way to be than to grind and be successful and work hard. That's fine. Have nice things, be successful. I'm all for that. But I think we need to sometimes kind of pull it back and be like, how much is this affecting either my mental or emotional health? Or, growing up, like my background's European.
Okay.
So our strong values is like family, is culture, is the family, the household unit. So how much of our work or getting ahead or our version of success is taking us away from those initial...
100%.
You know what I mean?
No, I really do, yeah. That's an important thing. Are you grind mode so hard that you've cut out the people you love? You know what I mean? You've seen this narrow vision, which I don't think I'm there, but I'm showing signs of it sometimes, where instead of spending time with the family, I'm editing or I'm doing this or I'm that, and I'm just like, grind, bro. But like, I don't know. It's hard to see when you're in it, not looking retrospectively, like what ties am I slowly cutting to get this thing that I want? Yeah. It's hard, but man.
It is. It's tricky. And to find the balance, it is. And some of the most successful people, sometimes they're the most loneliest.
Yeah, I can see
because
that,
they haven't spent enough time with their parents or their siblings or their wife or their husband or their children. Yeah. And it's like, they got all this money and they got all these possessions and they look on the outside very wealthy, but A, they're lonely, right? Or they don't have any real relationships, or they're miserable.
Yeah.
Like as a coach, I've coached, like I worked out of fitness first 3.5 years in QV on the corner of Russell and Lonsdale Street. Okay. And I was coaching.
Oh yeah, I know.
I was coaching multi-millionaires, some of them billionaires. I was coaching CEOs of American Express and Australia Post and like these head honchos that they'd come to their session. And not only was their health way out of whack, but they're like I'd be sitting there speaking to them, how's your wife or how's your children or how's this, and they're just like there's a complete disconnect, and I was like, wow, I was like, right, they've got the money, they've got the job title, they've got everything, but they couldn't tell me what was going on in their son's life, and I was like, oh wow, I'm like, where your priorities are.
Yeah, but I think that's where their priorities are, and we hear it as well. You do need a sense of insanity or psychopathy to kind of be a CEO. I don't think I'd have the ability to be a CEO. Yeah. I don't think I could. Like, you got to want it so bad that I don't know. These are assumptions we're making. I'm sure as well there are good ones, but I guess that's from your experience.
My brother-in-law is a CFO. So he's a chief financial officer for a well-known company. I'm not going to say what it is, but him and my sister are high up in the corporate world, and they have, I see they have found this balance with my nephews. Like they will, they'll work hard, they'll grind hard, and they'll do everything they need to do to deliver the commitments that they've have with their work, but they'll always make time for the boys, and the
Right.
boys are still their number one priority. So
yeah.
and they've got to bring it back. Like half of these people who want to be successful, when you take it right back, it's like, why do they want to be successful? Like I know for me, money or success, it doesn't, like I don't get excited about seeing my bank account go up.
Me too,
That doesn't excite me. But what does excite me is like if I can, like my parents just had their 35th wedding anniversary. So I'm like, hey guys, here's a holiday, right? Or, you know, like being able to take my wife to Thailand to say happy birthday to her.
Comfortably, yeah.
Or like to take out like family or friends out for a nice dinner. Like that brings me joy. So yeah, the success that brings me the finances, that brings me opportunity. Like one day, if and when hopefully I have children, I can send them to a private school or put them in a sporting activity. Those are the things that I want to be successful for, not to see my bank account hit $500,000 or $1 million.
Yeah.
That doesn't do much for me.
Yeah, or just to buy new things for yourself if you're not going to be sharing it with these people you've mentioned.
Yeah. Don't get me
huge,
wrong.
man. Yeah.
I'm going to be honest though. I do like nice things.
No, of course, yeah. But I'm saying, I think obviously that hits a spot, and I enjoy as well because I don't want to talk too much about things that haven't happened yet, but I'm starting to see some opportunities potentially open up for me, and so I'm starting to see dollar signs, and I'm like, oh.
Yeah.
Like, wait,
That's a good thing.
Yeah, but I've never really had that hunger. I think because the opportunities were never there, and now I've got like people kind of putting things out for me. Not putting it out, but there's like dangling a carrot and saying, "Hey, you can take this potentially."
Yeah.
And now I'm like, I can get a nice car. I'm like, ooh, I like this. So, and that's not to say I'm not, very fortunate in the job I'm in now. But yeah, it's never been on my mind that way until. So sorry, that's me relating to. 100%. I don't think we're talking down on like nice things either.
Way.
But sorry, the point is, I think we can acknowledge. The novelty will wear off. Everyone knows you'll get over the next toy, and if you're not sharing that with people. Having the experience I don't know, maybe we don't dive into death too soon, but we kind of can. But when someone you know or love dies,
it puts things into perspective real quick.
People like the vultures take their things potentially, and all you have is your memory of them.
Correct.
So like at the core, what's the value of a human life? We know it, but death is a good reminder. Is it the things they had or the memories you made together?
Yeah.
Or the things with the memories. That's kind of that's what we want.
That's a good point. My nonna actually passed away roughly this time last year. We're coming up to a 1-year anniversary. It's funny that you brought that up.
Yeah.
I didn't think we'd talk about this today, but it is what it is. And it was interesting, man. Like when she passed away, there were like family members contacting my mum saying, "Oh, what's happening? Like what's happening with her house? Or like what's happening with her car?" And I was like, fuck? I was like, what do you mean, man? We haven't even had her funeral. Like it was odd. And then my mum said to me, because obviously like when someone passes away, they normally go to the house, clear the house out, and then they'll either sell it or do whatever they want with it, right? And they were packing up some of my nonna's things. And she said to me, she goes, "What do you want from your nonna's house?" And I said, "Nothing." I said, "The only thing I want is," I remember when we were kids, because my nonna and Opa, they used to live in Adelaide. Right before my nonna moved to Melbourne, when my Upa passed away. And when we used to go, like as kids, my mum would send us on the bus from Melbourne to Adelaide to go spend like Christmas holidays.
So it was like in your experience.
It was a big thing, man. It was a big thing. And when we couldn't be there, like with the majority of the year, we would write each other letters. Like, I don't know for all you young people.
Man.
I don't know for all you young people. We used to have pen and paper.
Yeah, I actually wouldn't know how to send a letter anymore. So
yeah, so man, I used to sit there. Like when I first started doing it, my mum would sit there and she's like, "What do you want to say to Nonna?" And then we'd sit there and we'd write the letter, and she's like, "Oh, maybe write about what's happening at school, or maybe write about whatever, right?" And would write it, and then would sign it, and maybe chuck like photos in there, whatever, and would seal it. And I think it was 2 stamps. You'd have to get 2 stamps, like the ones you have to lick and stick on.
Yeah.
You'd have to get 2 of them to send them to Adelaide from memory. And anyway, we'd send these letters, and we'd send these letters backwards and forwards. And when my mum went to go pack up my nonna's house, I said, "Hey, okay, if you can just get me some of those handwritten letters or photos of us, that's what I want."
Yeah.
So yeah.
Would you have do you see something wrong with taking a material possession?
No, not at all. Before my nonna even passed away, because my upa passed away first. So a bit of background. My mother's father was born in Calabria, Italy.
Okay.
and my mother's mother was born in Munich, Germany.
Oh.
So I'm actually part German, part Italian.
Why do you have the Asian-esque look?
Yeah,
Yeah, no, it's cool. It's exotic, but I would not have gone
Yeah.
German Italian.
German, Italian.
That's so random.
I
man.
have had I've had everything. I've had Spanish and Islander, but the Asian,
Yeah,
I've had everything.
Yeah,
Levo,
because
Turkish.
Islanders or Samoans, at least, see, I said it the right way, Samoans.
Yeah.
But Samoans, I'm pretty sure there's like a link to China somewhere in there.
Okay.
So I had a Samoan mate, and he looks really Asian, but his grandma was Chinese.
Oh wow.
Yeah, so I don't know if that was a one-off case, but I interpreted it as something happened. I don't know if that's true or not.
The milkman.
The milkman happened, yes. So I cut you off to say that.
No, you're right. Man, I don't know whether, I think they call them opal. I don't know, my wife says, she's a makeup artist. She says that I have opal eyes. Or almond or opal.
Okay.
She's going to kill me when she sees this. But anyway, should we have the divorce papers out? No.
Yeah, they're ready to go, yeah.
The almond or opal shaped eyes, whatever it is, I don't actually know where it comes from.
Interesting.
But I do find, and a lot of bodybuilders will tell you this, is that when they're going through a period where they're bulking and growing, they hold a little bit more water, right? Like there's a bit of water retention, depending on, what supplements they're using or the amount of food they're having or what have you. The water retention in their body can actually change the shape of their face. They'll look a little bit more bloated.
Oh.
Whereas when someone's a lot leaner and they drop that water and they get quite lean and gaunt, that the face of their shape changes.
Yep.
Like even just recently when I was getting ready for the VIX and the Nationals, man, my face, my body structure, everything completely changed. I was 23 kilos for this show that I did this year. And people looking at me
What does that mean? Obviously, you weren't 23 kilos. I don't know what you mean.
Oh, so I was 113 kilos off season.
Yeah, okay.
And then I had to drop 23 kilos to get to 89 kilos.
Wow, bro.
Yeah. Because I did the classic category.
Right.
And when you compete in a classic division, it goes by how tall you are. You have to meet a certain weight. If you're not at that weight or under on the day of weighing, which is the day before the show, they won't let you compete in the division.
Man.
So it's a bit
all
hectic.
the work you've done, everything, and they've just fucking...
Yeah.
That's
So
rough, man.
It was rough, but it is what it is. So it's and again, it's a tricky category to kind of compete in because you've got these weight restrictions. Whereas when you do bodybuilding, it's kind of like you just get as jacked as possible and then you get as lean as possible, but it doesn't really matter what weight you are because you just come in on the day and present your package.
Yep.
Whereas it's a little bit different for classic. So I don't think too many people actually understand the difference between the divisions and the whole thing about the weight, height category. And
It's hard to gauge because, Jackson was explaining to me on the last step, and I didn't fully grasp it either.
Yeah.
There was something about like leg height or torso height or something.
Yeah.
Or maybe I butchered that. I probably completely misunderstood that. But yeah, it just sounds like it's only the three, if I'm not mistaken.
yeah, so there's men's physique,
Yeah,
which is
yeah.
the board shorts.
Oh, that's all he meant.
We call
that
that-
was it. Oh my god.
We call that men's bikini.
Sorry, yeah, fair enough. We don't like that one. Wait, do we like that? Okay, we don't like that
It's
one.
the guys that don't train legs.
Okay.
I was like, what are you doing?
That's such a good point.
Yeah, I'm going to cop a lot of shit for this, but I don't care. Like, man, why are you covering up half your body? That's not bodybuilding.
That's a good point. I didn't
Bodybuilding
think
is the
of that.
whole body. Show the whole body. Train your legs. Like,
Yeah.
come on.
That's lit. That has to be what it is.
Yeah.
I didn't even think about that.
Yeah. We call it men's bikini. So have you ever seen a guy who's like, yeah, I'm doing a bodybuilding show? So no, you're not. You're doing men's bikini.
Rocci said.
Yeah, tell him to hit me up. I'm going to cop so much shit for this.
On that, it's
Yeah.
worth mentioning. You actually got recognised just a moment ago before we walked. When
Oh,
you walked
yes.
in, that's funny. Yeah.
Yeah.
You were saying, does that happen often?
Man, I don't know
or?
what it is. It's really embarrassing. I think, I don't know. I would love to get my brain scanned one day and see what's going on in there because my memory's really poor, but it's serious. And it always has been, like, even from young. Like, I'm great with people's faces. Like, if I see someone's face once or twice, I'll remember it. But to remember their name,
Yeah.
sometimes.
No, but that's natural. That's pretty natural, I reckon. Yeah.
Yeah, but I don't know, like, what happened before? So, like, obviously, we're sitting in here talking, and the manager, I think she's the manager, or
The
the owner,
person, yeah.
some person, she came in here, and like you saw, she recognized me instantly.
Yeah.
Right?
It's like, hey.
Yeah, hey, I remember you from high school. bro, high school was like 20 years ago.
Yeah.
So yeah, I would like never have recognized her in the street, but it happens. Like, I'll go to a gym, like a gym that I don't normally train at, or I'll be in a shopping center, or walk into someone's barber store, or restaurant, or wherever. Anyway, wherever I am, people will instantly recognize me, and not just my face, but they'll remember my name. They're like, "Hey, you're Rocci."
Yeah.
And man, it's happened so many times, and half the time, like I'll be out with like either like my family or friends or my wife or whatever, and someone will come up to me. We'll have a full-blown conversation. Like, I remember you were going to do that, or, you know, you did that competition, or how's your new car? And they'll have a full-blown, like, not just like general information.
No,
we'll have
you're
an
in it.
in-depth conversation, 20 minutes minimum. They'll leave, and whoever's standing next to them will be like, oh, hey, how come you didn't introduce me? And then I'm like, I didn't introduce you because I don't know their name. And they're like, how do you not know their name? You just had a 20. I'm like, I'm telling you, I do not know their name.
Yeah.
So it's bizarre, man.
I know. I mean, where do you fall there? Because I mean, I hate using the term, but you do have a public persona, and you are in the public eye. Do you feel like you fall under that public figure, for lack of a better term?
I honestly don't, man.
You know?
Like, sometimes I put stuff up, like social media is a tool. I use it for my business, as we all do. Yeah. Sometimes I'll put something up, and I'm like, oh, fuck. Didn't get too many likes on that, or I didn't get too many views or whatever. And I'm like, what? You know, what am I doing wrong? And the algorithm, like the Instagram, I don't even use the other ones. Like, I think there's TikTok, there's Threads now, there's Kick, there's.
We're on Rumble, by the way, guys.
Okay, there
so
you go.
when
There's
we get
another one.
it's for when I get cancelled or if I get cancelled.
Okay.
Rumble's the go-to.
There you go. So man, I don't know. Call me old. There's too many. So I just kind of keep it. I try to stick with Instagram,
of course,
and I try to utilize that. Even my Facebook, like I have my page on Instagram that's apparently connected to my Facebook. So whatever I do on my Instagram story apparently kicks over to my Facebook.
You're like, how did this happen?
Don't ask me, right? So I don't know, like sometimes I'll do stuff and I feel like it hasn't been effective, or it hasn't gained much traction, and it'll irritate me. But then, yeah, like you say, I don't know, like people come up to me at the gym and they'll be like, oh, you know, I saw that thing on Instagram the other day. Oh, that's mad. And I'm like, mean? I didn't know you were following me.
Yeah.
B, you didn't like it.
That kind of gets me a bit. I'm not gonna lie. And I don't know. Maybe it's bad we care, but like, yeah, because to me, I think until you're producing content, you don't realize the importance or how supportive it is to have the virtual support.
Yeah.
So I'm like, thank you for your kind words, but can you tell the algorithm that, please?
Yeah.
You know, like, because our Lord and Savior, the algorithm, is what's going to get us like forward.
It's cooked.
You know,
it's so cooked.
And so I appreciate when friends tell me, but my thing as well is I've noticed it's got to stay patient. And it's the friends, usually when a friend says it in person, then they'll like the next post.
Okay.
So they kind of need my human interaction to remind them. I don't know what's going on. I don't know. I'm just trying to figure it out. But a lot of people so supportive in person, and then I'm just like,
transfer that online,
guys.
Transfer that online.
It matters, but especially because was your personal training always in the era of social media, or were you before or after?
Nah, I was before, man. So like, I've been coaching for 10-ish years. Yeah, because I started Body by Rocc in 2014. The only reason why I know that is because when I look up my Australian tax file number, it says 2014. It says that my business was registered in 2014. Oh, fuck.
Cool.
It's been fucking 10 years. So, yeah, this year was our 10-year anniversary for Body by Rocc.
Whoa.
Yeah, I know.
That's awesome, but a whole decade.
Yeah, it's crazy, man. Like, it's been such a journey. But it was before, what was back then? It was more like Instagram was, I think, created or was out there. But I think it was more Facebook.
Yeah, right.
And I've never been good with, I haven't been bad, but I haven't been great with technology. And I'm more of a people's person. So if I'm going to have a conversation with you or explain something to you or, I don't know, try and promote myself, it's normally like word of mouth or, I don't know.
The interaction itself.
Correct. Yeah. So I was never great with that. And then what happened was I'd started my business. And at the time, like I was finishing my Bachelor of Exercise Sports Science when I started Body by Rocc.
Okay.
Because my original plan was to do my Bachelor of Exercise Sports Science and then do my Master in Physio and to become a physiotherapist.
Okay. Yeah.
And that all stemmed from my soccer injury because I was going to be a professional soccer player. So there's
It just keeps coming. Yeah, there's more and more.
Okay,
Yeah,
so
fair enough.
if we rewind,
Yeah.
man, from 11, I wanted to be a soccer player.
Right.
I used to watch Del Piero, Totti, Wayne Rooney.
I know that one.
Van Nistelrooy. I used
know
to
that one.
Cristiano Ronaldo.
I know that guy.
Bro, so I studied Cristiano Ronaldo. Like people say they were a fan of him back 2000 and we're going back into the 2000s, like 2006, 2005. Like I used to look up, like I think YouTube. I don't know how long YouTube's been around, but YouTube was out, and I used to watch because my family couldn't afford like Foxtel.
Yeah, right.
So I could never watch soccer on Foxtel. I'd have to wait. I don't know. Not many people know this. Comment on whatever this is going to get posted on. Comment if you remember the World Game on SBS on a Sunday. So I used to wait. So okay, just so you know.
Yeah, no, that's gone. Yeah.
So SBS was a channel.
No, I do know SBS.
Okay, so it's
I'm
still
not
around?
that young. With the yellow subtitles of a random Korean film, I'm cool. I'm
it's
cool.
like an international channel.
I'm hip with it. Come on.
So SBS used to like display this TV show called The World Game, and it was only on Sundays.
Right.
And it used to go for I don't know, an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, and it would literally show games from like Serie A or Bundesliga or EPL or whatever, and that was like the only channel that you could watch soccer on unpaid TV. So I used to wait till Sundays and like sit there, and I was like,
itching,
hopefully,
yeah.
like one of them might, because I used to follow Juventus,
Okay.
in Serie A, and Man United in EPL. So I'd wait for one of those two teams to for them to display one of their games.
Yeah.
And I'd watch. I fell in love with Del Piero straight away. Like being Italian, playing for Juve, I just fucking loved him.
You
right?
kind of became like a idol. Were you like projecting,
Yes.
reflecting kind
Yes,
of?
I was like, I fucking love this guy.
Yeah.
And then, like, I fell in love with Manchester United and so on and so forth. Anyway, Cristiano comes over to Man United, and this guy's just a weapon, right? And I'm like, fuck, like, I couldn't wait for Sundays. I was getting too impatient. I'm like, I need to see more of this guy because I was like, if I can study him, maybe I can do some of the shit he does, right? And I literally would like search him, Google him, YouTube him, and I'd just watch YouTube everything. Like the way that he used to take those free kicks with the dead ball, where he'd like kind of kick it over the wall and then it'll die a bit and then go into the goals. There's this certain free kick.
Yeah, no, I'm imagining it. It's like it's got a personality.
Bro, I used to watch him do this free kick. Like he used to take 11 steps back, spread his legs.
Oh, yes.
Like just absolute freak. And that's what I used to do. And I used to study, and I brought the same Mercurial vapors he had. I brought the same socks he had. Like I mirror image this guy.
Yeah.
Anyway,
But he was a cultural movement.
Yeah.
Cristiano Ronaldo, like you're flashing me back to
He's
that
an
time
icon.
where
He's an icon.
actual icon.
Yeah.
Yeah, he completely took over.
Yeah.
And
it was always him and Messi. I know you're gonna say Messi.
No.
Okay.
I'll get in trouble if I say that.
Bro, take this off and walk out.
Yeah, I know my family back home. I'll cop
Okay.
it. But no. I mean, I don't know enough. But I know Cristiano Ronaldo was just always number one. Yeah.
He was a weapon, and I don't know. Some people say he's arrogant, and some people say this and that, and they say it about a lot of people, like even Conor McGregor and these superstars. But to be put in their shoes and have the limelight, and have the money, and all the success, like it'd be a hard thing.
Well, you are the best in the world.
Correct. It's pretty hard not to walk around with your chest high. Do you know what I mean?
That's what most likely got them there.
Yeah. And it's like, what do you want him to walk around with his head down? Why? Like, he's young, he's rich, he's successful, he's everything. Like, he's doing good. Like, let him have it.
Exactly, yeah.
But anyway, I studied this guy. Anyway, long story short, fresh out of year 12, got scouted to go to America. So I was on a 4-year American scholarship. Again, long story short, broke my ankle after the first year. So I spent a whole year there. Yeah. Dream gets, like, literally, it's like giving a kid a lollipop, saying, yeah, have a few licks, letting him enjoy the taste, and be like, yeah, nah, I'm going to take that back.
No. First asking them, did you like that? And when they say yes,
rip it back. Yeah. So that's what happened, bro. Anyway, came back to Australia. I was super depressed. This is another story, but super depressed. Didn't want to talk about soccer because I left. I had like a big going away party. People flew over from Italy and all around Australia to wish me well.
Wow.
250 people at Zagami's on Sydney Road in Brunswick wishing me well, right? So left as the soccer player of the family. Came back with a broken ankle.
He's making it. He's going to take us out. He's going
to be a millionaire.
Were you, it's okay to say, were you that good you felt it was a probability?
You know what? I wasn't born with the talent. I had to work hard. So when I first started playing soccer, there were kids who'd started when they were 4. I didn't start until I was 11. So I always felt like I was on the back foot. And, like when I used to go to soccer training, there were kids who could use both their feet. Like they could shoot, pass, dribble, do everything with both their feet. I was a right foot dominant. Okay. So I was like always feeling like I was behind, like why can't I use my left foot as well, blah, 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 blah. So I had to work hard, and I became obsessed, and I would play before school, at school, after school, and then at soccer training. So it was, I lived, breathed, ate, shat, slept soccer. It was full on. But yeah, man, anyway, long story short, finally made the dream. Like the dream was coming to fruition, and it just got ripped away from me. So that was when like my whole relationship with God kind of took a hit, and I was like, oh God, why have you done this to me, blah, blah, blah. Came back to Australia, super depressed, and my parents were just like, listen, you need to pick yourself up and move forward. Like this isn't the end of your life. Yeah. Obviously, you know, you being a soccer player is not going to happen. Yeah. You need to move forward. So,
and that's easy to say. Like, not easy to say, I'm sure it was hard, but I view that as like two things. One, that's the first time like adulthood and reality hit. We're in fantasy as kids, and fantasy's linked to reality. Yeah. And like it's real, and then it literally got fucking, as you said, ripped away.
Ripped away.
Yeah. But that's like I view that as a literal death, like an actual death happened there, and you had to let go of Rocci. You literally had to grieve that Rocci that was coming alive, man. So.
And the thing is, it was one thing to be like, oh, you know, this is exciting. Like 19 years old, right? Oh, this is exciting. Like I'm going to be a professional soccer player. Like my dreams are coming true. Everything I've worked so hard for the past 10 years is actually going to happen. And then it's on the other side of the coin is you're 19 years old. You're pretty much like you're a boy. Like you're becoming a man, but you're a boy. You're leaving all your family, all your friends, any financial security, any sort of security, everything you know, to go to another country. So I left a boy and went through a lot of shit in that year. Came back pretty much a man. So it was full on. Anyway, when I came back, like I said, went through a bit of depression. My parents were like, listen, you're going to, get your shit together and move forward. That was when I was like, all right, I'm either going to give university a go, or I'm going to maybe look at doing a trade, because my father was a tradesman.
Of course, yeah. The only two options in our Melbourne society, literally, but
well, to Wog parents,
exactly.
It's either you're going to become a doctor or you're going to become an electrician.
Yeah, but literally, fucking bang on.
So I was like, all right, sweet. I'll give, like, I was a like fairly smart kid. I was like, I'll give uni a crack. If I'm not great at it, I'll try doing a trade. Anyway, I went to uni, started the exercise science degree. In that degree, like, fell in love with the science of the human body, like just learning about like the human body in a molecular way and how it actually operates. When people start to look at the science of how our system works,
it's like a mechanical.
It's actually amazing.
Yeah,
and that will actually get you to a point where you start to question how we were created.
Interesting.
So it's a big thing. Like and that's why like a lot of scientists and philosophers, if you do a bit of research, you'll see that a lot of them through science actually turn to God.
Yeah, okay.
And then they're like, okay, well, with science, like we've literally reached this point where nothing can be explained, but there's something greater than us, which we would call a creator.
Yeah, exactly.
So it was crazy. But anyway, fell in love with the human body, started Body by Rocc, and the plan was still to become a physio. So I had to finish the bachelor's degree, which I did, but I'd already started Body by Rocc, and I'd already started like kind of coaching people, and it just came real easy because everything I was learning, it was science backed. So I would go in to do a movement, and I'd have the science on what the technique should be. I would start eating in a fashion where I would structure my macros, calories, everything science backed for an athlete. Yeah. Supplements, hormones, everything, and then because my progression and my results were happening so quick.
Like within yourself?
Within myself, because I was like my own guinea pig. I was trialing everything on myself. I was like, oh, what about if I do this movement? Or what's a superset? Or, what about if I try this protein powder with creatine? And, I'd just start to guinea pig everything I was learning at uni, I'd start to do in the gym. And I found that was the main difference, because back then, there was like every intake. Like I studied at Victoria University.
Fuck yeah, the boys. Yes.
So every intake, there was like 300 students, 400 students who were doing the exercise science degree.
Only in the first year.
Everyone would start to drop off.
Start dropping,
Correct. And then it was like everyone who was coming into that mainstream was then either specializing after that, 3-year bachelor. They were either streaming into chiro or physio or occupational therapy or whatever, right? So, but out of that 300 students, when I was sitting in those big lecture theatres, like I'd look around the lecture theatre and I'd be like, how many of these people actually train?
You're like, I could knock out 99% of these people.
Now, back then I was still, because remember I was coming out of the soccer player body.
True.
So, bro, just so you know, because I tell people this sometimes, they don't believe me. I was like 19 years old in America, almost fully formed. Like, what are we, fully formed at 21, thereabouts.
Yeah.
18, 19 years old, 65 kilos.
Yeah.
Skinny, man.
Yeah, I have no frame of reference.
I'm 5'10", so I'm about 176 centimeters. Right?
Yeah.
And I was 65 kilos. I'm now, like, sitting with you now, I'm 107.
Right. Yeah,
so that's massive. That's like 40.
Essentially half.
42 kilos.
Yeah.
So, man, I was a skinny little runt. And, like, in high school, I was actually bullied for a period of time, especially when I was short. Like, 'cause I was short until about year 8.
Right.
So I had people saying, this guy's, king of the tiny teddies and friends with the ants and all this sort of
Not
shit.
the tiny teddies,
Yeah, bro. Copped it.
Was it at least the ones with the chocolate on them? Or
Yeah, it was the chocolate
Oh,
ones.
cool. That was all right.
Yeah. I was friends with the colours. But yeah, man, copped it. So anyway, I actually, getting into like the gym and kind of utilising what I had learned in the classroom within a practical sense.
Yeah.
Man, things just started to change for me and I completely started to transform my body. And like I said, it was easy for me because I was already in the gym. So a lot of what I was learning, I just kind of like trial it that week and then see what I got. And then I'd go back to my lecturers or my tutors and say, hey, I was doing this in the gym.
That's smart. That's what the others wouldn't have done.
Well, a lot of them weren't training. And I was like, why aren't you guys training? But I don't know. I don't want to call them, I'm not going to put a label on anyone, but a lot of them were very studious. And I was like, okay, they're missing out on the practical side of things because, and this is what a lot of coaches and exercise scientists miss, is that sometimes the science of things in a book, when you go to do it practically in the gym, it doesn't link up.
Yeah.
So there is a little bit of modification or adjustment to certain movements or nutrition or supplementation that unless you're practically implementing what we're learning, you're not going to know.
Yeah.
So like I'd walk into a tute, during the week at uni and be like, oh, hey, I tried that squat and I tried to put my feet in that sense with my toes. It didn't work.
Yeah.
And then my tutor would be like, why? And I'm like, I don't know. And they'll like, come over here, like, let's do it together.
Right.
And we'd break it down why it didn't work. And then we'd talk about how each person's obviously born with different hip structures and the way that their femur inserts into their pelvis can be different for different people, and therefore we have to have different spaces between our feet when we squat. Just
That's so specific, yes.
And the human body is very specific.
Yeah.
And that's why when you're lifting weights, especially, and you're putting a resistance, which is a force through the body, bro, everything's like almost to the millimeter. So sometimes when I'm coaching people and I'm changing their technique and I'm telling them to, straighten their wrist or tuck their elbow or open up their toes, I'm only making like a couple of centimeters or a couple of millimeters of a difference, but it changes the whole movement because when you stack up those millimeters or centimeters from their ankle to their knee, from their knee to their hip, from their hip to their spine, when it travels up that chain, the millimeter that started there ends up being 3 or 4 centimeters at the top.
It's like literally a building. If you fuck up on the columns anywhere, by the time you reach the top, you're completely out.
Correct.
Man. Yeah, that's so bang on, actually.
Yeah.
Because that's what you're doing. You're
building a structure.
The structure of the people.
Yeah, and everyone's born with a different skeleton. So in a building sense, it would be the foundation.
Exactly.
Different foundations, different buildings. So yeah, anyway, going back to what I was saying is I had started the business. It skyrocketed. It took a real quick, it just grew. And then what had happened was when I started my business. I was working at, where did I start? Anytime Fitness in Moonee Ponds.
Okay.
That's where I first started.
Yeah.
And I was working part-time in retail. I was actually working for, do you know the fashion label, the Suits Politics?
Yes.
I was working for Politics.
All right, I can see that.
So yeah, it was crazy. I was like doing uni, working on Politics, and like starting Body by Rocc, and I was doing like all three juggling. And I was like, all right, I'm going to get to a point where I've got to flick Body, I've got to flick Politics, uni will finish, and then I've either got to decide whether I want to do the masters or focus just on Body by Rocc.
Right, it's like a decision mode.
Yeah. And anyway, so I was working out at Anytime Fitness. And Anytime Fitness is a 24-hour gym. You scan in, you scan out. There's no culture.
Yeah, right.
So I went in there, and there was like 1 or 2 other PTs. I started my business. I became...
And sorry, just so I'm still with you at this point. You say started your business. Does that mean you've just got an ABN, but you're in the same spot?
Yeah, so I got an ABN.
Yeah.
Registered the business name, and like you got to pay for your insurances
Yeah,
and stuff like
all
that. Yeah.
But then is it kind of like, so what now kind of thing? Is that?
Then it's like you got to choose where you want to operate from.
Yeah.
And that's what I mean. Like back then, like social media wasn't that big. So I was just like, all right, well, basically, my understanding of how PTs operate is you choose a location. So some sort of a gym could be in Anytime Fitness, Fitness First, wherever, right? And you go there, you know, you have your hands in your resume, have an interview. If they decide to take you on board, normally the setup would be you are a sole trader with your ABN and your insurances. You pay the gym rent and you run your business. You charge your clients cash or direct debit or whatever, what have you, and it's your business within a business.
Right. So subcontracted to you, basically.
Correct.
Yeah.
Some gyms, like I know Virgin Active for a while, they did like an employee system where you're employed by Virgin Active, members pay for PT packs to the gym, you run the packs and you get a percentage of that.
That's interesting. Yeah.
It's a bit of a shit model.
But at least there's options in that
There's
regard.
security and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But
we own you, baby.
Correct. So I'd gone to Anytime Fitness, and even then, like the way that you're promoted was there might be a PT board at the gym.
Seen those, yeah.
Where people would be like, oh, Rocc, he's got his exercise science degree. Oh, he's done a competition, blah, blah, blah. And your email, your mobile would be, and they'd contact you, whatever, right? Anyway, and I found that I'd kind of like outgrown Anytime Fitness. I was like, you know, I don't think I'm going to get any more clients. I'm the busiest PT here. I'm kind of like fully booked, but kind of not. I'm like, all right, I've got to move on. I felt like I had to move on.
Yeah.
So then I kind of flicked politics. I was like, yeah, nah, I want to focus on Bodybuilding full time. I'd spoken to a few other graduates who had done the exercise science degree and were currently doing their first year as graduate physios.
All right.
So they were doing the masters that I wanted to do. And I hit him up and I said, hey, there was one bloke, Jeremy, and I said, hey, Jeremy, blah, blah, blah. You know, are you currently working as a physio? And he goes, yeah, I'm doing the graduate program at football club. And I was like, wow. I don't know if I should be saying football club, but it is what it is.
No, it's pretty,
like, well,
pretty public conversation.
Yeah. So what's going to come next might be a bit thing, but hey, it is what it is. Okay. He was working and he said, or he was working at an AFL club. I don't know if you want to edit.
We'll find out if it makes the cut.
This is what he said to me, right? This is what actually turned me off wanting to become a physio. Well, one of the things that wanted to turn me off becoming a physio. He was working at an AFL club, which was very prestigious.
That's where everyone wants to be.
It was like, okay, in Australia, especially Victoria, AFL is massive. The amount of funding that they get is huge. So you'd think if you'd ever want to make it, you'd want to make it at a sporting club that is doing really well, right?
It's like the sporting club
Correct,
to be at, yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So anyway, he'd started, he was doing his first year. I said, bro, how are you finding it? He goes, I fucking hate it. I go, why's that? He goes to me, you know, there's like the head physio who's like 70-something years old. He goes, then there's the junior physio who's like in his 50s. He goes, so there's the head physio, the head physio, the assistant physio, the junior physio. He goes, and then there's like 2 or 3 others like that are underneath them.
Right.
And I was like, wow. I was like, okay, so for you to get to where you are, to what the top dog is, you got to pretty much wait for him to retire or die.
Yeah, and then wait for the other guy to
Correct. So then it's like everyone moves up one.
Yeah.
So the assistant becomes the head, and the junior becomes the assistant, and then all the other guys.
It sounds very corporate hierarchy.
It was, and he actually said that they were a bit racist, and I was like, really?
Yeah.
And he goes, yeah, man. He goes, you know, like, because his name's Jeremy. He was, I think, half Italian, half Aussie, right? And he goes, man, they're all racist unless you got like blonde hair, blue eyes, and this is going back years ago, so I don't know, maybe it's changed.
Yeah.
But he's like, man, they're like, unless, you know, you're in with one of the father's sons or blah, blah, blah. He goes, good luck getting promoted.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, look, I'm sure there's a bit of that culture at every club, in every sporting, there's always politics wherever you are, right? Yeah. But he was really not like it. And I said, all right, side park all the bullshit. I go, how much are you getting paid? And back then he was like, oh, entry level's like $70K per year, right? And I was like, okay. I'm like, man, that's not that great. I'm like, like, you know, for being at one of the top clubs in, like, you're not, there's nothing more.
Where else are you? Yeah,
It was
literally,
like, all
where
right,
else
so
are you
is
going?
that your earning potential?
Yeah.
And he goes, the only time you're going to make more is if you move up the ranks. And I was like, okay, and that doesn't seem like the easiest kind of pathway from what you're telling me. He's like, nah. And I was like, all right, I was a bit put off by that whole conversation. I was like, all right, I'll give it a go myself. So while I was like, I was trying to figure out what was happening with Body by Rocc Anytime Fitness, I was finishing my degree. At the end of the exercise science degree, you have to do career and professional development.
Right.
Whereas basically they say, go choose a workplace where you want to do a certain amount of hours, and they will, and then you're basically getting a taste of what life will be like in this career pathway.
Of course. Yeah.
So I had a physio at the time, because when I got back from America and I was trying to figure out my rehab for my ankle, I went and found this physio in Moonee Ponds. He was great, right? And I was like, oh, you know, like the owner of the, because he was actually the owner of the clinic, and then he had other physios working underneath him, and he owned the whole practice. And I'm like, this seems like a better setup. Like, he's the owner, he's got other physios working underneath him. He owns the clinic. Like, I feel like there'd be a bit more earning potential than 70K, right? So I thought, all right, let me go like have the combo with him, because I was seeing him anyway for my rehab. So anyway, I had the combo with him. Didn't get into like the money side of things or anything like that, but he knew that I was starting to potentially become a physio anyway. I said to him, hey, Rich, I said, I want to do some, you know, workplace hours here for uni. You know, would you be open to it? He's like, yeah, sure. I said, I basically just want to kind of interview the clients. I don't, like, obviously I'm not registered or insured to touch anyone. I said, and I haven't even learnt how to do treatment.
So just all on the table right off the bat.
Yeah. And he was like, yeah, man, come and watch. So I spent literally 2 weeks there just observing, talking to patients, talking to the other practitioners, and just getting a feel of a vibe of what it would be like as having that as my career day to day.
A fly on the wall.
Yeah.
If we may.
Bro, depressing as. Depressing as.
I wasn't expecting that.
Like, it was just like you're basically stuck in this clinic.
Yeah.
Right? Which kind of feels hospital-like. And you're dealing with people who have had car accidents, or older people who are losing their mind, like got dementia, and it wasn't really an athlete-based clinic.
Okay.
It was more like older people, car accidents, things like that.
Yeah.
And I was like, nah, this is super depressing. I couldn't do this. So then I was like, well, what about if I do similar to what Jeremy was doing, but maybe not footy? Because I'm like not really into footy anyway, right? I'm a soccer player. Maybe I really didn't want to have any connection to soccer after my journey.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a bit of
everything was a reminder.
Yeah, everything was a reminder. But I couldn't even watch soccer anymore for a while. Like, I can now.
Yeah.
But just watching, like, because some of my mates made it to the A-League, and I'd go to games. I'd be sitting there at the A-League games. I'm like, man, I played with him.
Yeah.
I trained with him.
A very good friend of mine, similar boat.
Yeah.
I don't know if it was A-League, but he explained similar. Had an injury, but the boys who he's like, and he's not arrogant. He's like, I was better than him.
Yeah.
They made it. I think even Socceroos, I might be lying, but they had made it basically.
Yeah.
And he was just like, I'm resonating with him with what you're saying.
Man, exactly the same.
Yeah.
And the funny thing is, I actually had a tryout with Queensland Raw back then, and I didn't even rock up to the tryout. That's how depressed I was. I was like, nah, I'm not going. I don't want a bar of it. Even if they accept me, I'm not the same player I was. I don't want a bar of it.
Yeah.
So anyway, so I'm like, all right, maybe I try the like doing my workplace hours in a sporting environment. So I went and did it at the what was the name? It was the Werribee Italian Soccer Club, and they were like a pretty prestigious team. Like, they were in NPL, like National Premier League, or maybe it was State 1, whatever it was. Anyway, and I went there and I did 2 weeks there as well, and I was watching how the physio operated within that space. And again, it wasn't what I thought it was going to be.
Yeah.
Like, he was doing like a lot of strapping and massaging, and then, you know, there was 2 or 3 gun players who were injured, and I could see that the coach was getting frustrated at the physio because they were injured. But it's like, man, like, it's not his fault. They're injured. Like, what do you want? Like, he just doesn't have a magic wand.
Yeah.
So I was like, I don't know, man. Like, maybe physio is not what I thought it was going to be. I don't think this is for me. So at the moment, I'm just going to focus on Body by Rocc.
Yeah.
And again, I didn't really spend money on marketing or know really how to use Instagram, because it was quite new to me. So I was just like, all right, I'm going to go off word of mouth. And I was already doing fairly well.
But at least you know within yourself, you really tried physio.
Yeah.
You went there, there, you went to the pathway, But I guess there was just a wall there that wasn't for you.
It wasn't for me, man.
Yeah.
And then the turning point, or what kind of made me realize that Instagram was going to be a thing, was when I'd finished Anytime Fitness, and just a little kind of like segue was I'd gone on this trip because I was, WOG parents. You're European background. Yeah?
So DNA test showed 7% Italian.
Oh,
so
we're
boys.
We're cousins.
We're cousins. Yeah. We're mainly Lebanese, Syrian. Yeah.
Oh, cool. So, Lebanese, very similar values to Italians.
Yeah.
I've got a few Lebanese family friends, but like with European upbringing, it's like, all right, work hard, get a house, get a mortgage, pay that mortgage, get married, have kids, like. That was just what we were kind of was ingrained in us.
That's all there is.
Correct.
There is nothing else. No, but seriously, to them, there is nothing else.
That's it. That's all there is.
So it's not even like we're forcing you. They're just like, this is it. What do you mean it's not?
Yeah, it's like, correct. It's like bizarre if you want to do anything else.
Yeah.
So with my parents, they were always like banging on about like I was like 15 years old. They're like, why don't you have a house yet? I was like, fucking hell. So I was kind of like, I was always like to them, like, relax.
Yeah,
I'll get a house.
my mum was fucking hard on it, but I'm grateful now.
Yeah, of course.
But like, the expectation, I was like, oh my God.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Bro, I was 13 years old. Listen to this. I was 13 years old. And instead of my parents being like, all right, how you're great. Like, my grades were pretty good. Like, man, anything less than a B and my mum would get out the wooden spoon. So my mum was fairly strict. That's what happens when you get a half Calabrese, half German woman. You're getting a bit of like, think about the two biggest dictators of the world. That was my mum. That was my mum. She's like, you will do what I say.
There's some generational fucking
some trauma, bro.
trauma in there.
So,
all coming down on your head.
Bro, I'm getting anxiety reliving it. But
next point.
Yeah, she was pretty full on, but man, 13 years old. I'll never forget. I came home one day. And I don't know if my parents had a bad day or what have you, but they're like, all right, you're a man. You're 13. I was 13. You're a man now. You need to start paying for your own shit. Yeah. And I was like, what the fuck? Like, what happened to these two? Like, they had a shit day or got a bill or something. I don't know. And, man, 13. I said to my parents, I said, 13. I said, how am I going to pay for my own shit? I don't have a job.
You legally cannot get a job
Correct.
For 9 months.
And this was my next point. I said to them, my first point was, I don't have a job. And they're like, that's all right. We're going to find you one. And I said, no. It's illegal in Australia. Like, I can't work.
We don't do that here.
Yeah, I was like, that's child. That's what is that?
Child labour.
Child slavery.
Slavery.
Whatever it was. And I was like, no, you can't do that. Like, it's illegal. I was wrapped, right? And she goes, nah, I've already organised you a job. And I'm like, what the fuck? I'm like, how? And they had called up my uncle who owned this fruit shop in Brunswick on Sydney Road, man. And I was like, fuck. Anyway, they sent me to go work at this fruit shop, carrying these boxes to these nunnies cars who would park like 5 Ks down the road. And I was 65 kilos back then, soccer player, 65 kilos.
True.
The box weighed just as much as me with fruit and veg. And I'd carry it like 5 Ks to the car. This was my job at the fruit shop. Like, I'd have to sweep the floors, carry the boxes, get rid of rotten fruit, just like, like slave labour. And I used to call myself the human trolley.
Yeah,
right?
fair. No, I like that. Yeah.
And I used to get first it was $40 for a 10-hour day. So I used to get $4 an hour.
They gave you a lot if you ask me. No,
well, after a year, I got a promotion to $50 a day.
Whoa, that's so funny, man.
So
how bad,
bro? So I learned the value of money quite young.
Yeah, true.
And my parents were never in a position to kind of like buy my first car or buy us a house or anything like that. Yeah. But they blessed me in a lot of other ways.
Hard work ethic.
Yeah, hard work ethic, sure, and morals and values.
Oh, yay. I'm so glad I don't have a Merc. Yay.
Yeah, I'm glad that I'll be mortgaged for the rest of my life. But anyway, so like I started working in the food shop. I can't even remember why I brought this up.
Because we were jumping onto just how you even got to
I know I was going to talk about the social media thing, but it was more about work. Because how strict they were. But anyway, 13 years old, started working, made fucking peanuts, but it taught me the value of hard work.
Yeah.
Anyway, and then flashing back to the whole Anytime Fitness, right? I'd finished up. Oh, that's right. So they were drumming on me from young to work hard.
I love that aha moment.
Yeah, because I just connected all
That's
the dots.
awesome, yeah.
They were drumming on me about hard work. And they're like, you're 13 years old, you're a man, you need to go get a job. I was like, why do I need to get a job? They're like, you need to pay for your own shit. Then within 2 years, they're like, why don't you have a house yet? And I'm like, well, because I make $4 an hour. I'm not going to have like a 30, 50 grand deposit. But then even when fast forward me now working and running my own business at Anytime Fitness, I'd started to see, okay, with how quick my business is growing and the money I can make and the money I can save, like it made me start thinking about, okay, what about now start saving for a nice car or a house or maybe even travel. Like I was always excited by the idea of travel. My parents had never traveled. Yeah. My parents never had a nice car. My parents never traveled. They were they were first gen immigrants. So it's not like, and there's a lot that's happened within my family, but they've had to basically start from zero, like one or two, like 2 or 3 times.
Yeah, to them, like, or if I'm relating my parents, it's like change isn't an opportunity. Change, something is going wrong. Like when they've gone through change because they're escaping war in Lebanon and Syria, and they're like, change is bad.
Correct.
We don't like change.
Yeah.
So then you're coming in with this, and they're like, no, not change.
Correct.
You know, we don't like that.
It's that place. They're actually coming from a place of fear.
Yeah, a bit, man. Just it's ringing so true. My parents, I really had to kind of drum things are different into their head, you know, and we're still kind of having that battle.
Yeah. I had that battle, especially with my mum, for a long period of time. And when I was getting to this point of coming, like I was looking at what's next after Anytime Fitness, I was like, how can I grow this business? Like I'm kind of fully capped here. There's not much more I can do. I need to find something bigger or better, or I want to make more money. Yeah. And for me, it was like, I want to live the life, and I'm sure it was their goal as well. I want to live the life my parents never had. Like the fact that my parents had never been, to Europe. I wanted to go to Europe and tell them all about it, right? I wanted to like have a nice car and share it with them. Like I wanted all these things because I was like, all right, well, what do our parents live for? They live for us to have a better life than they did. So I want to at least have a better life so I make them proud. Not I did exactly what you did and they'll be like, okay, what did we accomplish with this guy? Yeah. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, 100%.
So that's kind of like where my first bit of want for success came from. And then I had moved away from Anytime Fitness and I was like, all right, I want to save for a holiday. Anyway, I went on this big holiday. I went on this European holiday, and my parents were like, how much are you spending on your holidays? It was like a 30 grand trip, right?
And that's the other thing is like when you become an adult, that kind of like you don't need to tell your parents all your finances either. There's so many like intricacies as well where like because they at one point had control, and our kind of maturation comes with like, hey, this is my money now. I can choose what I want to do, what I do, you know. Yeah. I still like to involve my parents just so they feel like they're on my journey as well. Like I'm still an open book to them, but there was a real like authority shift that had to happen at some point of like, all right. Yeah. It's my money. Or not in like a negative way, but just kind of the growing up side of that, you know.
Well, that's the thing. Like when you start to support yourself, like you start to, pay for your petrol and pay for your own food.
And then support the family as well.
Correct.
Like, it just kind of, there's a shift essentially.
Yeah, massively. Yeah. And this trip came up. And she was like, my mum was like, how many you spend on the shit? I'm like, don't worry about it. Anyway, she kept breaking my balls and I was like, all right, sweet. I'm like, man, it's costing me 30 grand. She's like, $30,000? That's a house deposit. You could have this house. Like this house is always like there, fucking you've made it, right? Yeah. So I was like, Mum, like chill, I'll buy the house. I was like, I'll buy the house. I'm like, let me have this trip. Like you never had this luxury. Let me have this trip. Let me go experience this. I might not have this opportunity again. I want to do this trip. So anyway, I did this massive trip. You went all over Europe, party. It was the best. Like it was a 10-week trip. But the last 2 weeks, I finished in America because I still feel like I had unfinished business from when I left for soccer. Right. It's like this thing inside of me. I didn't need to go exactly where I was playing soccer, but I needed to go back to the country. And it was this weird thing, and I'm like, I need to do it. So I planned this massive 8-week trip, and the last 2 weeks in America, I did a week in New York, a week in Miami. And when I was in New York, like I was looking because I was like heavily into my fitness by this stage. I was looking for a gym, and there was this gym called Crunch Fitness. And I was in New York. Anyway, I walked in, and I was like, this fucking mad gym. I was like, it had like fluoro lights and cool new equipment and mad vibe. And I was like, my dream would to be work somewhere like here, right? So man, I just went up to management. I said, hey, listen, I'm only here for like a couple of days. I've loved training here, but I'm currently finishing my last year of my Bachelor of Exercise Sports Science. Like, would you guys be open to, once I finish, because I really want to finish my degree, I was like, when I finish this, would you guys be open to like employing me? You know, how does it work with the visa, yada, yada, yada. And they're like,
you're contemplating a
I was
full
contemplating
move.
fucking moving, man,
wow.
right? And because I was single at the time, and I was like, you know, this seems like an awesome opportunity if they're open to it. And New York reminds me of Melbourne. It's like Melbourne on steroids.
Right.
Anyone who's been to New York, I don't know how, like, it reminded me of home, but like a greater version. So Americans love Aussies. Anyone who's Australian and who's been to America, they were obsessed with us. I don't know what it is, the accent or whatever it is.
Well, yeah, probably, yeah.
But it was confusing for me because when I went there for soccer, they're like, "Oh, you're an Aussie," and I'm like, "I'm an Aussie."
An Aussie?
I'm like, in Australia, I'm a wog. Like,
Yes.
I'm not an Aussie. Okay, here I'm an Aussie. So I was fucking confused. Like, here I'm a wog, there I'm an Aussie.
Where do I land?
Where am I? Who am I? Right?
Yeah, I can see that. Yeah.
So weird. But yeah. So you know, spoke to management at Crunch Fitness. They're like, "We would love to have you here." I'm like, "Awesome," but I want to finish my degree. So you know, it'll probably be in another year. They're like, "Sweet, when you get back to Australia, email so we've got your we've got your stuff on file."
Just
blah,
keep
blah,
that
blah.
link. That was actually in on it. Yeah, nice.
So anyway, I finished the trip, came back to Australia, and you know, started working again. Anyway, I was walking through High Point Shopping Centre, and this is 2 weeks after I've been back in the country, and I see this stand, and it says Crunch Fitness, and I'm like, "Fuck!" It was like one of those moments, right?
Literally a sign.
Yeah, correct. And I was like, "Nah, this is too good to be true," right? So I went up to him and I'm like, "Oh, hey, like, what's the go? What's this stand?" And they're like, "Oh, you know, we're Crunch Fitness. We've already been in Sydney for like 5 years. They're like, our first location's going to be in Melbourne. It's going to be open up in Melbourne." I'm like, "What?" They're like, "Yeah." I'm like, "Oh, awesome." I'm like, "Whereabouts?" They're like, "Here at High Point Shopping Centre." And I was like, "Oh, wow." I'm like, "I was at Crunch Fitness in New York 2 weeks ago." And anyway, long story, you know, I started to speak to them, and you know, I was telling them I'm a PT, and blah, blah. They're like, "Oh, well, would you want to come and work at Crunch?" I'm like, "Fucking oath I would," because I thought I'll be working within the company.
That you've seen the culture of what,
Correct,
if it's
what
a
it could be.
franchise, it comes down,
Correct, what it could be. So I was like, "Awesome, I'll work here, ingrain myself in the company, you know, create a reputation for myself, and then the transition to New York will be awesome if it's still something I want to do. But if it's not, maybe this will be a better opportunity."
Yeah.
So I started working at Crunch Fitness.
But what a deep interest that you loved it so much and saw it so much that you're like, "I'm willing to move for this."
Yeah.
Like that's such a it's full on. Like it shows how deep it ran, that want for it basically.
Yeah, it was. And man, I still to this day, I love New York, and I could literally move there tomorrow.
Oh, okay.
If I didn't have the commitments I have here, I love that city so much. It's one of my, you know, I don't know if you've done much travel, but when you do, I recommend
when
it.
I grow up.
I recommend it. Man, when you go to different parts of the world, you'll have these moments where you're like, "I could live here." You will definitely have those moments. And I've been privileged enough to have those in different cities of the world, like Barcelona's another one, Portugal's another one, Rome is as well. But you'll go to certain places, you're like, "I could live here," but
you're also,
what would I do for work?
Yeah, and you're also viewing it from a tourist lens
Correct.
as well. So
Correct.
it's a bit harder to to know what it would actually be like when you're there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah, man, went up to these people. Anyway, started working at Crunch, helped them open up their first location in Melbourne. And within literally I think it was a week or 2 weeks, the state manager, the state PT manager, he's like, "Rocc, I need to have a meeting with you." And I was like, "Okay." I was like, "Shit, I'm already in trouble. Only been in 2 weeks." And he's like, "Hey, man, like I've spoken to the other management and we've been seeing how you've been like helping us open up the gym. And, you know, we've read a bit about your profile and, you know, would really be interested in talking to you about stepping into management." And I was like, "Oh, wow, like I've never managed people in my life." I'm like, and I was fully transparent with him. I'm like, "Man, I wouldn't know the first thing about managing people. I've never done it." And he goes, "Well, we want you to be the PT manager." He's like, "You can still operate as a PT within our company, but you'd have this additional role." And I was like, "Okay." I was like, "Listen, if you guys are open to training me and providing me with the skills that I need to be a great manager, I'm all for it."
You've come in clean and you're like, that's perfect way to go about it, man. Yeah.
So, man, I started in this role as a PT manager while also operating Body by Rocc within Crunch. Okay. So I was doing a bit, plus finishing my last year of my degree. So I was doing heaps.
Moving parts.
Yeah. And anyway, I started, like, they're like, well, you're responsible for everything. And I'm like, well, what does that mean? They're like, well, we need you to do all these tasks day to day, but they were also like, we want you to create a disciplinary structure for the current PTs, like wearing uniform, wearing name badges, putting away their weights.
Now that you've signed this contract,
it was like, it was like, fuck
the
yeah,
fine
like,
print was like,
is exactly what it was. And then one of the things they wanted me to do was recruitment, so employ staff. And then when I started, like interviewing people, like I'd write a job ad, I'd get a bunch of resumes, I'd call them up, I'd get them in for an interview, and I'd start interviewing them. I would notice that a lot of the people coming into the industry were quite green. Like, not many PTs have gone and done their Bachelor of Exercise Sports Science. Like, that was a rare commodity. So,
and that's why they jumped on it right away as well.
yeah, well, same as Anytime Fitness. They're like, oh, you got a Bachelor of Exercise? Yeah, we'd love to have you on board. It wasn't a common thing. And most of the people doing the exercise science degree at Vic Uni, like, they were going on to be either physios or chiros or occupational therapists or what have you.
Right.
So to become a PT, I wouldn't say it was almost like a backstep, but it wasn't the common denominator.
It wasn't the it wasn't, that's right. Exactly, yeah. The
So-
academic path, or at the end of the academic path.
Normally you do Cert 3 and 4 in fitness through AIF or AIPT or one of the RTOs, and you just get your ABN and start operating as a personal trainer. But just for shits and gigs, in my second year of the Bachelor, one of my mates was wanting to do PT. And I said, bro, go do it. Like, the stuff I'm learning at uni, it's invaluable. Like, I assumed that the Cert 3 and 4 would be a similar kind of content. He goes, oh, I don't know, blah, blah. And he's like, I said, you know what? For a laugh, I'll do it with you in my holidays.
Okay.
Because I already knew that I'd have a bit more of knowledge than, obviously, these people who have never stepped into a classroom before, what they'd have. So anyway, I did this Cert 3 and 4 in fitness in my holiday break, and it was like such an eye-opener to how little you learn in Cert 3 and 4 in fitness.
Oh, shit.
And then I was like, shit, how are these people gonna make it as a career?
In the real world.
Yeah, like to create a business and to charge people X amount of money. Like, okay, they might know how to create a basic program. Nutrition was next to nil, what they were teaching. Supplementation, hormones, blood analysis, you didn't get taught. Injury rehab, you didn't get taught. Like, all of these things you didn't get taught. And then even just simple stuff like boxing or, kind of like functional strength training or CrossFit, stuff like that. You'd have to go do extra certificates.
Right.
So you weren't learning it in the Cert 3 and 4 in fitness.
The DLC content. The extra
And I was just like, fuck, like these people, like these personal trainers, they're not going to make it, because the thing is, you'll get a client. You might write them a program, somehow figure out their nutrition, maybe give them a little bit of supplementation knowledge if you have acquired it yourself through personal development.
Experience,
And then what happens if they get injured? They're like, oh, sorry, I'm injured, I can't train with you anymore. Well, that's not great, because then you lose that client. Or, hey, I want to learn boxing. Oh, sorry, I don't know boxing. So I found like there was all these holes in how to run and maintain a healthy business with the lack of knowledge or qualification that the Cert 3 and 4 was providing. So when I started interviewing and recruiting and employing these people, one of my first questions in the interview process was, are you open to further development? And if they were open to it, I'd provide it. And if they were like, oh, no, I kind of think I know enough from Cert 3 and 4 in fitness, I wouldn't hire them.
Yeah.
Because I knew that they'd fail. So I was like, yeah, I can't employ someone or have someone a part of my team who isn't open to growth.
In what scenario were people saying no? They're just like, was it an arrogance? I don't need it, basically.
Correct.
So, fuck, all right, there you go, yeah.
Bro, I'm telling you, like,
It
these...
filtered itself out, man.
And you know what I'm saying? As time goes on, like now I'm a little bit older and stuff like that, I'm seeing the younger people, especially some of the people on social media, calling themselves coaches.
Yeah.
Like, first of all, you're not a coach, right? Calling themselves coaches is like, well, what are your qualifications? Because there are so many people, like, I'm not going to call anyone out, but there's one person who comes to mind. She was actually the daughter of one of my friends. Okay. So I met this guy at this gym that I was training at. He was a bit older. Anyway, we used to have laugh and banter, and his daughter was literally finishing high school. And he goes, my daughter's thinking about becoming a personal trainer, blah, blah, blah. And I said, oh, that's awesome. I said, listen, these are the things that she'd probably want to consider before coming into the industry. But, just like let her know, or if you need any help, like let me know. I'll jump on a call or what have you. Anyway, years later, she starts training, right? She's quite slim. Anyway, she builds a bit of a frame, legs, glutes, bit of shoulders, whatever. Anyway, and obviously started to get a bit of attention on her Instagram. Other girls started to like, comment on her, other guys, blah, blah, blah.
Of course. Yeah.
So she still hasn't done her Cert 3 and 4 in fitness, but starts telling people, oh, hey, I'm taking on clients.
Right.
And I'm like, oh my goodness, how is this girl calling herself a coach and a PT and she's going to write people programs and start charging them?
Yeah.
When she's got no qualifications.
Well, yeah, exactly. But that's kind of the fucked up beauty of social media.
Yeah. Dangerous, very dangerous.
Yeah, you can get, the water can get muddied quick where because you need to be both competent and warm enough to have people come to you.
Yeah.
Like you got to be charming enough or charismatic to like have people want to be around you, but you got to know what you're doing.
The knowledge as well.
Yeah, the knowledge has to be there. But she seemed to have slipped through the cracks through just the human side, not the knowledge side.
It was out of this world. And then when I heard one of my mates,
like you're fuming. You're like, oh, it's a fucking China. You're like, I went to everywhere I can. And then you've come back and she's just like.
Yeah. Sometimes, man, it baffles me because, being in the industry 10 to 12 years, doing the Bachelor of Exercise Sports Science, and then it's not even like, even those two things in itself is quite extensive, but even like, okay, so for 2 years I worked with a gut specialist for my own gut health, but I paid him, I'm talking thousands and thousands of dollars, tens of thousands of dollars to learn from him because I actually got him to mentor me for 2 years while I was working on my gut health.
Right.
Then I spent this other time with a biomedical student, graduate, whatever, and he taught me how to do blood analysis. Right. So that was like thousands of dollars. Then I've had multiple coaches myself run me through comp preps. I still have one now. Yeah. And I pay him thousands of dollars. So it's all this money, time, effort, knowledge, experience. Yeah. I've trained with that many athletes. I've trained with that many other knowledgeable people. So I've got like this resume of knowledge, money spent, experience. Yeah. And then there's this young girl who's been training a couple of months and starts selling products. And I'm like, what? Like, all power to her.
Yeah, of course.
But people need to understand, like, when you're employing someone to provide you with knowledge or service or to get your result, you want someone who's experienced. Like, I would never have, like, okay, I'm going for open heart surgery, right? Like, I'm not, but if I was going for open heart surgery, I wouldn't, we'll do one of those. I wouldn't want the graduate surgeon.
But, of course.
I'd want the most experienced surgeon.
But I'd be interested to have like just thought experiment to see the difference in your clients themselves. You know what I mean? Not just results, but one, results, and two, I think, because it really matters what she's selling. Because in the social media space, you can almost sell, what do they call it? Parasocial relationship or parasocial relationship, where it's like a one-sided relationship.
Okay.
Because as the content creator, we're kind of giving ourselves to many as well. Do you know what I mean? So it really depends what her client really wants. Do they want the best of the best in that realm?
Yeah.
Probably not. They probably just want to be more around her and what she can give.
Okay.
But not really what she can give and she's a good character, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So, like, it depends if it's, like, what they're going for first.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because if they're not really, like, if it's not the priority to be the best in terms of just that thing, then it's a good model. It works for both of them, you know what I mean?
Well, which is completely fair.
Yeah.
But when I was working at Crunch and I started to employ people, I started to build the team.
Right.
And in a year and a half, I built it from 4 to 9. So it was a great team. Created cross promotions between the gym and Boost Juice, created cross promotions between the gym and Adidas, which no PT manager had done in Sydney for the past 5 years.
Wow.
So then they started to consider me for the national PT role.
Oh,
right?
shit, man.
So that's the trajectory that relationship was going. But while I was doing that, I started employing these people, different, like males, females, different characters. And there was this one guy I employed, and I was hesitant to employ him because he had a bit of arrogance behind him. Okay. But he seemed like he was a good coach, and I'd watch him coach people, and I was like, you know what? He's a good coach. I'm going to have him on board. I reckon I'll be able to, and because he was young, I thought he's just immature. as he gets older, he will mature and he'll change, right? And I thought I'll be able to kind of hopefully coach him and direct him to become a more mature, more humble coach,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Anyway, he was on this social media, Instagram, and I was on Instagram, and he was just on it all the time. And I said to him, I was like, bro, I'm like, why are you on this so much? He goes, nah, this is the way, this is the future. Like, trust me, you got to do this, you got to do this. And to me, it sounded excessive.
Yeah.
I'm like, man, you're on it too much. Like, he was on it all. Like, when he was in coaching people, he was on it 24/7, right? And he wasn't the healthiest. He wasn't a healthy individual, but he was switched on with social media,
Right.
and he was switched on with his business. And for that, I had and have respect for him, right?
You could see he had a vision.
I could see that he was onto something, but I just
Yeah.
didn't know what it was yet. And that was the first time I realized, okay, social media is going to be a thing.
Yeah.
Because the more he was on it, his brand just started to grow and grow and grow. And then this young man who's now a lot older and wiser and more mature, and he's a great guy. He's opened up gyms.
Right.
He's
right,
opened
right.
up like 3 gyms, and he's opening up something like a Pilates studio in Bali. And top bloke, and him and his mate, business partner as well. These boys have mastered social media.
That's so
And
good,
I didn't get it back then. And because I think success had come to me quite easily without using it, I was like, oh, well, for me, for my business, for Body by Rocc, it's not a necessity. But years later, like moving out of Crunch Fitness and then going to work at Fitness First, again, I was put in a gym where I was very unique. Yeah, so moving out of Crunch Fitness, I ended up at Fitness First.
Yeah, but that's an age thing as well. Like because you're a part of the generation that you didn't grow up with it.
Correct.
But you're young enough that you jumped on it.
Yeah.
But you weren't like my generations. I'm somewhat in the middle as well. But it's kind of like just by chance that guy happened to have it more in his face and to see it more, you know.
Look, I think Facebook was becoming a big thing in year 11 for us.
Right.
So like we were almost out of high school and Facebook was like a thing. Instagram wasn't even a thing. I'm now starting to sound really old. But as you know, as time went on, I saw like with people like him, and then many years later with that girl, I was like, fuck, like social media as toxic. I find it's very toxic. It can be very toxic.
Well, it brings out the worst in me, so I know that it is toxic.
I find that it's a tool. It's a tool, and like with any tool, used in the right way, can be really effective and not too detrimental. But I find there's a very fine line, and too much time and used in the wrong way, it can be quite toxic and detrimental to someone's mental or emotional health or self-image or self-worth. So, and you would never think that something so simple could have such an effect.
Yeah, but like you can say used in the right way, but when this thing's designed to make you not use it in the right way, it's just a losing battle, man.
Yeah.
For me, at least, I struggle a lot. Yeah.
Oh, me too, man. Yeah. Me too. Like I said, I didn't realize its importance early on, and then over the years, because it was just kept thrown in my face, and I was surrounded by other coaches, and then jumping online. And then seeing these other coaches, and then and then it's like this portrayed wealth. It's like, well, if you're good at social media, you'll be wealthy. That's almost like the connect that it creates, right? So then I just like started to play with it, and then speak to other coaches, and then how do you use it, and you just started to learn more about it.
Like, so this social media thing, hey?
Well, because then people talk to you about algorithms and, you have to do this. And it's like this Da Vinci Code.
Yeah.
And once you crack it,
literally.
it's like, this is how it works. And then as soon as kind of like you figure it out, it changes. So I don't know. It's exhausting to me. And in the past 2 years, I've kind of felt like I want to move Body by Rocc, not completely online, but I want to have a hybrid. So I don't want to. I've been doing face-to-face for, like I said, 10 to 12 years. I love it. I still enjoy it. But with what I want to do potentially moving forward, like I've always wanted to open up a gym. For ages, I've wanted to open up a gym. And, working at different gyms, I've seen some really cool elements that I want to kind of incorporate into one. And the funny thing is, the vision I have in my head of the gym that I want to create. No one in Melbourne's done it, believe it or not.
All right.
So I've only told my vision to a couple of people, and everyone I tell to, they're like, "Fuck, that's mad. I'd pay $100 a week to do that." So I feel like it definitely work, but the model that I have, it would be a pricey venture.
Okay.
So the past 2 years, I've been doing my due diligence and speaking to like real estate agents and like negotiating like, okay, what sort of a lease would I need? And then finding out about you need different permits to zone a building to have a gym. And then like just simple things like how many car parks would get the permit over line for how many members. And like there's a lot more that goes into it. Like originally I thought you find the space, negotiate a lease, do your fit out, get your equipment in, and then you just do your marketing and get people to join up. Like I'm like, okay, this is the breakdown of how it works. But now that I've spoken to two different gym owners who I'm potentially in discussions with of maybe doing a second location with one of them, I'm now like, well, I still have my vision and I still want to do it my way. And then along the path of like just some of the friends who know me, knowing that I want to do this gym, they're like, Rocc, we'll invest in it. Like I've already got a few people who are willing to invest in it. But before pulling the trigger, I really want to be like, all right, guys, this is the business plan. This is the breakdown. This is the final, like these are the final numbers. Who wants in? Do you want to be silent? Do you want to be active?
Yeah, right.
Because that's two different kind of partners. You got a silent investor who probably just wants an ROI, like return on investment, who says, all right, I'm happy to chuck in, I don't know, 200 grand and I want 300 grand in a year.
Yeah.
And then that's it. That's their
don't at me.
Correct. It's like, we don't want to know anything else. We just want 100 grand in a year.
Yeah.
Other people will be like, nah, I want some equity. I want to have a say in what we do and blah, 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 blah. So
another thing to consider as well is the brand or the face of the brand Rocci.
no.
Because then you need to consider an exit plan. But if everyone's gone just for yourself, then how does the business run if you get removed from it?
I've had this conversation as well, and two investors have brought this up.
Okay.
And I said, listen, obviously when we open, I'll be working within the business. So people will know, people will come. Whether it's for me or whether it's a facility or a combination of both. But the gym won't be like Body by Rocc. It won't be focused as like my gym.
Right, yeah.
It'll just be a facility. The people love to come and like I'll be there for a period of time.
Yeah.
But eventually, I want to be out of the business.
But I think the spirit of whoever you are or whoever the person is, like if you're creating it, you can embed the spirit in the culture of it, and you're essentially there in the way things are run, whether you're physically there or not.
And you know what I find, bro, about business, and this is with all business, and I stand by this, because I have family friends and I have just close friends who own businesses and different businesses. Like I've got two friends who own barbers and a hair salon. I've got another friend who he owns 11 cafes in Melbourne. I've got another friend who owns a car dealership. Like I've been exposed to business, never through my parents, unfortunately. That's one thing I find with some people I know who have done really well in business. It's because their parents owned business and taught them business, which is a mad blessing for them. And, I actually learn off them. Unfortunately, like even with Body by Rocc, I've had to learn everything myself. Yeah. What sort of accounting do I do? Do I do this tax? Do I register for GST? Do I charge my clients weekly, monthly, fortnightly? Do I do cash? Do I do packages? I had to figure it out on my phone, which is fine. My parents never had the privilege of teaching me business, which is all good. Like I said, they've blessed me in many other ways, but I've kind of had to figure it out for myself and learn from friends and family. But one thing I have learned about business is that when it's a bricks and mortar business, right, and people are going in like a people to people business, there are certain elements that you must have, right? Like customer service is like a non-negotiable. You need to have a good product or a good service, and you need to be able to provide a good customer relation, right? Because it doesn't matter if you're providing a service like a cut, or you've got a car dealership where you're providing a product. You need to still have that customer service to get the sale over the line, right? Yeah. Even within what facility I want to create, there are 5 elements. And every time I talk to people about these 5 elements, they're like, oh, yeah, that's so true. And I'm like, if one of these elements are missing, when I see these, because I've worked at different gyms now, like I've worked for Anytime Fitness, Crunch Fitness, Fitness First, and now operate out of one gym in Port Melbourne.
And that's over time as well.
That's,
so
like this
space and time, you're literally
10 to 12 years.
Yeah.
So I've seen what works and what doesn't work. And when one of these elements is missing, you start to see the person be like, all right, I think I'm gonna go to another gym.
Yeah.
So you kind of need to have these as non-negotiables, and then maybe something on top to be a point of difference or to be a niche.
Right.
Does that make sense?
It does. But you mentioned 5. What are the 5?
Okay.
Oh, you led me up to that.
Yeah, I wasn't really going to go into it. I don't want to give too much away.
No, true. Don't. Actually don't.
Yeah.
Actually don't. You should hold that, to be honest.
Yeah,
But they're, so just so I understand, are they 5 behaviors that you should have?
No,
or
no.
5?
So for example, I'll give
So
you a
what
few
are
of them. So I'm creating a business plan as we speak. No, so some of them with the gym, like it's no secret, it's pretty general stuff, but you've got to really nail, even within the 5 elements, you've got to nail certain aspects or they won't be right.
Of course.
But for example, with a gym, right? For example, okay, maintenance, right? That would be the maintenance of equipment.
Yeah.
As someone who's a gym goer, you don't want to be going into a gym and forever seeing a sign on it being like, this machine is out of order.
Fucking does me, to be
Correct.
honest. It really does, yeah.
And how many times, like let's say, for example, your favorite machine is leg press, right? It's probably not.
It's not.
Let's go, like, let's say preacher bench.
Wait a minute.
Let's say preacher bench. Yeah, there we go. So let's say your favorite machine for biceps is preacher bench. Like every Friday is arms day. You're looking forward to.
I think it might be actually, yeah.
Bro,
it's definitely up there.
I already know. I can already imagine.
I thought
your
I was
split.
a complex being, bro.
You're one of the many. But like, like let's say your favorite exercise is preacher bench for biceps, and every Friday you're like, yeah, I'm G'd up, I'm training arms, I'm gonna get this sick pump, I'm gonna go to the clubs, the girls are gonna love my biceps, right? That's your thing, right? And let's say it's out of order one day, and you're like, fuck. This has full killed my arm day. This has full killed my buzz, right? And you let it go because you're like, it's broken, whatever. They'll probably fix it in a week. Let's fast forward 2 more weeks. It's still broken. You start to turn a bit.
Yeah, 100%.
You're like, okay, they're shrinking.
Yeah.
I'm going to cancel my gym membership if they fix this.
Well, honestly, what am I paying for?
Correct.
You know what I mean? Because I've made the first payment. What, you got my money, you don't give a fuck anymore.
Correct.
So there's an element of that. I'm like, you don't care. Yeah. Why do I need to care about you guys?
Correct.
Yeah.
Right? So that's a thing. And if you're continuously, and like let's say this machine's out of order 3 months, like how and I'm just using this as an example. Like let's say there's multiple machines. After a couple of weeks or a month or 2 months, you're going to be like, what the fuck's going on? Like I'm gonna cancel my gym membership. There's like a gym down the road that just opened up. They got awesome equipment. Yeah. It's the same price or maybe a little bit more. I'll pay it knowing that their machines are always maintained. Yeah. So that's an element, man. That's an element that I've seen in the gym space that someone will cancel their membership pretty quick if the machines are always out of order.
And it's never just the one either.
No.
And I think we can all relate to that. It's definitely something that
it's either
does
multiple,
tick me off. Yeah.
Because as a gym, when you get in your equipment, you'll normally have a certain amount of brands, right? So for Fitness First in particular, their 2 brands is Hammer Strength and Life Fitness. Some even have Techno Gym. So they'll have contracts with these
Techno
Gym.
Are we fucking uns? So I had a serious face while doing that. But yeah, is that what you mean though?
No. Techno Gym's a brand of equipment.
Oh, I thought you meant like a techno gym.
No.
Is that your idea? Is that what we're going for? Did we just crack it?
No. You're almost there, but not quite. But yeah, so like they'll have contracts with these gyms, and depending on whether they're leased equipment or paid for, they'll normally have someone come out and service them.
Okay, yeah.
So normally if you've got a lease, you'll have part of that lease a service guy who comes out once a month or once a quarter and checks on the whole gym and services it. If you've paid it outright, normally you won't have that within the contract. So you'd normally employ someone to say, hey, we want you to come into the gym, again, maybe once a month or once every couple of months and just maintain the gym equipment. Or, when we call you, we expect you to be here within 24 hours or what have you.
Yeah.
So that's one element that is like, bro, it's a non-negotiable. Like you need to have, like if people are coming to the gym, it's normally for either a class or equipment or a class.
The service / product you're giving.
Correct.
Which if you stop giving, that's the agreement's kind of
Correct.
not there anymore.
Point. Yeah, 100%.
So what I'm hearing is, without saying the 5, is processes or things that you noticed current gyms are lacking
Yes.
in,
Yeah.
and you're basically going to optimize it and
Yeah.
pretty much get it right
100%.
if you go forward with it. Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
So you need those 5 just to have a good product, right?
Okay.
Then on top of that, there are other elements that you add to the gym for people to be like, wow,
Yeah. Okay.
this is an amazing facility. I'm happy to pay $100 a week or what have you. Because normally, like, another thing is cost,
Yeah, of course.
right? Like, a lot of people will make a decision on a membership based on cost, right?
Ultimately, for me at least, yeah, exactly.
Well,
yeah.
I've seen with like the elitists and with the elitists and like super wealthy people who have disposable income, the cost is not an issue. So for them, the next thing is, all right, what's the service or the product?
And the prestige.
Correct.
Yeah, yeah.
And second to that is exclusivity.
Yes.
So it's like they want, like these elitists, I see it, they want.
But we love them.
Yeah,
right?
man. It's majority of my clientele. It's like they want this amazing product or service, which they have every right because they're paying for it.
Exactly,
Right. But then on top of that, they want to make sure that kind of like no one else has this.
Yeah.
Like, we have this, no one else has this. Like, I can afford this, but the general population can't afford this.
Yeah.
So it's exclusivity. But number one is they want to know that they're getting value for money. So yeah, like there are certain things, like there's certain elements that like are non-negotiables, but then again, there's that extra added elements or aspects where people are like, fuck, I'll pay anything to be here.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I even know, like, at one gym, right? We've tried to keep the culture, which is another really important thing, the culture of the gym. Like, you know, when you walk into a gym and, like, for example, you walk into a Fitness First and it's like very corporate like.
Yeah.
It's like all office people. It's very corporate like. It's kind of like that refined, polished thing. Then have you ever been to a Derrimut?
I have been to a
At Derrimut, it's like, bro, anything goes. There's like a weight plate over there. There's dumbbells over there. And then you'll walk into like another gym, for example, and you'll be like, oh, this is a CrossFit gym. Or you walk to another gym, you're like, oh, this is a boxing gym. Or you walk to another gym, you're like, oh, this is a bodybuilding gym.
You can feel it in the air.
You can feel the culture. You can feel the energy and what sort of a gym it is, right? Yeah. And I feel like at one gym, one thing that we've always tried to really kind of hone in on is community, making sure that whether you're a tradie or whether you're a corporate or whether you're into your boxing or whether you're just, you know, a yogi bear into yoga, everyone's included. It doesn't matter who you are. So I find that that's another kind of added aspect that if you can create that in your space, that it's a big thing. It's a thing that people will be happy to pay a little bit more money for,
100%,
knowing that, you know, they feel, okay, I belong here. This is my tribe.
Does included mean they can ask you anything, laughs? What do you mean when you say included?
Like a lot of the people that come into our gym, and it's not just one gym, it's like other gyms that I've been to as well. You want to, like, okay, and this is another one for any business, like the car dealership, the hair salon, the cafe, the gym, whatever. You need to, I think, greeting and farewells are one of the most important in business.
Yeah.
When someone walks into your place of business, hello, how are you today? How can I help you?
Yeah.
And then when they leave, hey, see you later, have a good day. Thank you so much for coming.
Yeah.
Like, it's something so simple, but when you can master greeting and farewells, that's a business 101.
100%.
Like, if you're not doing that, there's something wrong.
Bro, I'm going to come off so dramatic. I walk out sometimes, not out of like I'm mad, but if people don't greet me, let's say it's I'm waiting for food or something, and they haven't even greeted me yet, and they're still just doing their thing, and they haven't locked in a hello with me, I'm just like, all right, I'll just walk out to the next store right next to it. You know what I mean? Like, that's happened to me a few times where no hello, and they're just still doing their thing, and I'm waited there like 3 to 5 minutes. I'm like, all right, all right, see ya. Bang. So the greeting really grabs me, man.
It's so important, man. Like, so one of my favorite things is I love doing gym excursions. Yeah. So like a new gym pops up in Melbourne, I'm like, I'm doing a gym excursion. Next weekend, I'm doing a gym excursion there. Or even like when I travel, one of my favorite things to do is, okay.
Go on, that's all right.
One of my favorite things to do is go, like whatever city I'm in, is go train at that gym. I've walked into gyms where the person's leaning on the counter, they'll look up at me and then look back down.
Oh no. Yeah.
And I'm like, wow,
Yeah.
what are you doing?
Yeah.
So I'll walk up to them like, oh, hello, how are you? And they're like, and I'm like, so can I train here today?
Yeah.
And it's like a full open up a dialogue of, hey, I'm wanting to train at you. I'm wanting to give you my money
Yeah.
so I can use your facility.
I think I try to give some people the benefit of doubt. I think some people, there's chances they can be intimidated as well. So sometimes I feel like people just don't know how to say hello.
Yeah.
And when you break it, you kind of see a bit of like whatever. So that could be happening as well, where
Yeah.
someone sees and just like tense up or something.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's definitely times where it's like, I don't give a fuck though. That's bad business, man. Like, get it right, man.
Yeah. So I don't know. These are a few of the things that I've noticed along the years.
Yeah.
And I've really picked up, like, because people, as a coach, like, even that you're not the reception staff or you're not the owner, as a coach working at all these different gyms, people will come up to you and they'll tell you things.
Yeah.
They're like, oh, Rocc, I don't like the music here. Or Rocc, this gym's too cold.
Yeah.
Or just these different, the bathrooms are disgusting or whatever. So it's like, okay, you hear these things and then I'll watch. And if the issue's rectified, then normally like it's whatever they stay. But if a certain issue isn't rectified, I like to see how long the member stays a member.
Right.
And you see them leave, man.
Oh, really? Yeah.
You see them leave. Like if they're irritated by one or two things or by the same thing for long enough, off to another gym.
Yeah, yeah. But are they expecting you to do something?
Nah, some of them do.
Yeah,
Some of
okay.
them think I'm there. I'm like, yeah, man, I'm the cleaner, I'm the accountant, I'm the
Yeah,
fucking.
yeah.
They think I'm going to fix everything. I'm like,
Yeah.
hey, I'm just a coach.
It's probably because you're like this middleman almost. That's management, but cool management.
Yeah.
So they can feel like they can talk to you, but
Yeah.
shit if they're expecting you to do something about it though.
Yeah. So it is what it is, man. But yeah, that's what I've noticed. Yeah, easy.
I wanted to ask you about client dynamics.
Mm-hmm.
It's obviously a personal role. You're building relationships with people. It make me curious. Does that make any issues in your personal relationship, specifically with your wife? Yeah. Can that breed any potential insecurity or issues there?
I think it can. I think with me personally, it hasn't. For a number of reasons. Number one, I think like if you make your partner, regardless of your job, even when you're out with the boys or when you're out socially, if your partner is worrying, side park any past relationships or traumas they've had, if your partner's worrying, they've normally got a reason to worry, or you've made them feel like they have a reason to worry. So I feel like if you've done your job as a man to make your, or woman, to make your partner feel secure, they will feel secure. Don't get me wrong, like everyone's got their insecurities and partners will always like, question different things. Like I'm sure there's random thoughts that go through my wife's head and thinking, I wonder if, she's trying to flirt with him in their session.
Exactly. Even if it's the other.
100%. And, even with my wife, like she works in a corporate environment, there are males there. And, my wife is very friendly. Like we both have very friendly natures. Sometimes people can misinterpret that as flirting. So I feel like it's up to us to not change who we are, to still be, super friendly, but just remind people of like, okay, this is the line.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Like I've asked her, I'm like, oh, hey, at work, has guys ever like kind of put their hand on your shoulder and be like, oh, because like I'm going to come
Closing
down
the
there
distance.
and I'm going to come down there and introduce myself.
Fair enough. Yeah.
But no, like as a coach, it's very personal. And, like I was mentioning to you before, like I've got a client now, we've become so close that he's actually asked me to be a part of his wedding.
Yeah.
And other clients, like, I've done business deals with clients outside of coaching. I've spoken to, like I've gone to people's birthdays. I've had them come to my birthday. So you do with certain clients, like have this connection where you're like, shit, like this person's like more of a friend now. And yeah, I find that like, when you're messaging or calling a client, at what time of the day are you doing that? When you're filming your client to potentially put it on social media, how are you filming them?
What's the angle? Are we on the floor looking up?
Are we doing the low glute shots? Are we doing, So it's, it's up to you as a coach to always, and it's not just about, keeping your partner secure and, having them know that you're doing the right thing, but it's also, what are you portraying to your clients? Are you portraying to your clients that, hey, like I'm the coach, you're the client? Or you like, oh, hey, we're mates, this is a casual relationship? Because if they take that on board, then they might, be happy to like, oh, I'm going to cancel my session today.
Yeah.
Or, hey, I'm just going to like kind of talk in the session and, we're mates. Like you don't want that as a coach either, because you want to have that hierarchy within the session where it's like, hey, I'm the coach, You are the client. I'm here to get your result. I'm here to, like, my mantra has always been, if I'm not, my mantra around coaching is I'm here to educate, motivate, transform. If I'm not doing one of those three things, I'm not doing my job as a coach.
Yeah. So if you're, as a coach, allowing them to try break that barrier, not even inappropriately,
Yeah.
but to become too friendly,
Yeah.
you're now not able to complete your
Correct.
role as a
Yeah.
coach, basically.
And I actually have, like, I feel shit. I know some coaches, I don't know, some coaches care, some coaches don't care. Like, if a client's walking out of a session and I haven't taught them something, or I haven't motivated, or I haven't transformed them, or it's kind of not been, not that it normally ever is, but if it's not up to my standard, I'm like, shit, like, I don't like that wasn't a good session. I need, every session I need to know that I'm getting paid to do a service, and I want to provide the best service. Like, I have this thing, like I was telling you before, I want to be the best. I want to be the best. I want to be the best coach. I want it to be the best session. I want to be, the best husband. I want to be the best dad. I want to be the best business operator. Like, I want to be the best. So anything where I shortfall, I'm actually hard on myself.
Yeah.
I'm like that. Like, sometimes my wife says to me, she goes, "You're so hard on her." She goes, "Oh, you're so hard on your friends, or you're so hard on your family." And I'm like, well, if you think I'm being hard on you or them, you don't even know what thoughts and things I'm telling myself. Like, I'm the hardest on myself.
That hits so hard, yeah.
So I kind of need to remind myself to be like, all right, like, Rocc, hold on a sec. Not everyone is wanting to be at your level, or not everyone's going to be at your expectation. You need to stop expecting so much of other people. Like, it's very hard not to have any expectation, but try to lower your expectations on everyone.
Yeah.
If you want to keep them high on yourself, keep them high on yourself, but try to lower your expectations on everyone else and just feed off what people give you. Like, if people give you this, awesome, take it. But if people give you this, just take that as well, and just know that that's where they're at.
Yeah, and you didn't mention earlier, because this is the first time we're talking about it, but having different hats.
Oh, yes.
So that's kind of reminded me there, because with your partner, you aren't always coach hat, and it'd be hard to kind of have to take that hat off on a personal relationship as well.
Yeah, with her and with clients, like, I feel like I'm always switching hats. With clients, it's like, all right, I'll chuck on my, like, coaching hat. I'm like, all right, hey, like, man, you need to get deeper. You need to break 90 degrees. Squeeze your glutes, activate upwards, blah, blah. That's coaching hat. Business hat would be like, all right, listen, you're gonna miss the session today, because they'll call me, oh, hey, I gotta blah, blah, blah. I'm like, hey, you missed the session today, that's sweet. Payment's gonna go through, but next week, like, I'm happy to give you an additional session to make up for today, so you don't lose the money.
Right.
Right. So that's business hat. Then sometimes, man, like, I've had over the years, I've had some sessions where they come into the session. I shit you not, this is play by play. They come into the session. Hi, how are you today? And I'm like, oh, fuck. Okay. So then you got to put psychology hat on. I don't know, like, I just had a miscarriage. And I'm like, okay,
Whoa,
shit.
yeah,
Or like I'm going to divorce my husband, blah, blah. I'm like, whoa, okay. It's like, I can't make the payment on my mortgage. And I'm just like, whoa, okay. So psychology hat goes on.
Yeah.
Coaching hat gets taken off. I'm like, all right, sweet. Like, let's have a seat. Let's take 3 breaths. Let's reassess the day.
Right.
And bro, sometimes, like, over the years, I've had some sessions where people have come in super emotional, and I know in my head, I'm like, they're not going to train today.
Yeah.
I'm not going to be able to push them physically through a session. I just kind of need to console them. Whether I charge them or whether I don't charge them, whatever, that's a separate issue. But I just, like, this person is in a time of need. I kind of just need to be a bit of a human at the moment, and just kind of console them.
Yeah.
So it's changing hats. And with my wife as well, it's the same thing. Like, sometimes, like, I'll be coaching, 5, 6, 7, 8 clients a day, and I'm in, like, coaching mode the whole day. And I'm like, oh, like, it's just like push, motivation, it's do this, do that, blah, blah. And then I get home, and I've got to, like, kind of shift that energy and be like, hey, darling, how are you today? Like, how was your day? And, like, how did that make you feel when your boss spoke to you like that? And I've got to kind of take that, that kind of hierarchy coaching hat off and rip that off, and then put the husband hat on and come home and be like, okay, like, how was your day? How do you feel? I might be, and man, with our job as coaches, like, wearing all those different hats, like coaching hat, business hat, psychology hat, it's sometimes you come home and because you've been around people all day,
Yeah, you're like wearing their issues as well.
wearing the issues, but you're mentally and emotionally exhausted. So I kind of like sometimes I come home and in the most politest way, my wife will, because my wife's been waiting to speak to me all day. Yeah, she's like, I can't wait to tell him about Sarah, how she said this at work, and like she's ready. She's waiting for me to come in that door so she can just verbally diarrhea me with her day.
Love you.
Yeah, correct. And I'm just like walking in the house, and be like, fuck people.
Yeah.
I don't want to be around people.
Don't touch me, don't look at me.
Yeah. So like in the most polite way, like I'll give her a kiss, I'll hug her, and then I'll sit down and be like, babe, I love you. And I want to hear about your day, but 20 minutes, no, like silence. No noise, no talking, 20 minutes. And she gets it.
But that's an adult relationship where the more you converge who you are, the more you learn about each other, the more you kind of just realize how complex the other person is. And you kind of, if you can give your partner space, fuck me, that's a healthy relationship.
Yeah.
You know?
My wife, the space isn't in her vocabulary.
Yeah, fair enough.
Physically or mentally or emotionally. Like she wants to be ingrained into me.
Yeah.
But nah, she's good. She's great. I just kind of like, I'm the same. Like, I'm like, okay, if I can create space for her, for me, it's invaluable, man.
Yeah.
It's invaluable. And when I used to live by myself, which was only for a period of time, because like I moved out of the family home and I bought my first property and I moved in and I was by myself and I was like, anyone who's lived by themselves understands it's actually bliss.
It is bliss, yeah. I did for a bit.
So good.
Because it's like the whole thing is your room.
Correct.
You know? So I'll leave like something on the counter
you
and
took
I'll
words
like,
out of my
you know,
mouth.
come back after work. I'm like, oh, it's still there.
Yeah.
I was like, you know?
It's so good, bro. It's like, I'll chuck that there, I'll pick it up later. It's like, I'll wash this, I'll do that. It's like you do everything, it's your space. So you do everything in the way that you want to do it.
Yeah.
And you don't have any friction.
Yeah.
Zero friction. As soon as you add a person to that space, they don't even have to move in. They can just be visiting.
Yeah.
And they start to move shit.
Yeah.
Start to put shit where you don't know where it is. Or they start to like, you know, do the ironing in a different way or the cooking in a different way.
It's weird, bro. Like, because space is like this. It's obviously space. We know there's space, but it's like a place.
Tangible.
It's almost there. Like you can feel when someone's, even though they're just in a room, in your space or not in your space.
Correct.
Even if they're in that same spot in the same room.
Yeah, you know
what
they're
I mean?
there.
Yeah, there's like I don't know. I find that fucking incredible. Yeah.
Yeah.
But a part of that though is. Again, maturing, taking responsibility, being there. I'm not there. I'm talking shit, but like being an adult that you have a partner and it does become your plural space.
Yeah,
you know.
100%.
Yeah,
100%. Like
I'm not there.
Take your time.
Take your time, brother.
Take it from me. Take your time. It is, man. It is. And like at the end of the day, I don't know. There's some people like that are all okay to be on their own for the rest of their life. I find that very odd. Like I said, I come from a European background, you know, Italian, German. One of our main things is family.
Yeah.
One of our main core values is family. And some of my greatest memories are living in the family home, being around family and, you know, coming home and sharing your day or sharing a meal or watching shows together. And, you know, it's amazing. And, you know, unless you're going to want to end up alone or being lonely, you're going to have to accept the fact that there are going to be periods in your life where you're going to have to share your space.
Yeah.
First, it was obviously initially your family, your parents and your siblings. And then eventually it's going to be your partner, your husband or wife and your children.
Yeah.
If
and
that's
children.
what you want.
Exactly
if
right.
that's what you want.
Yeah.
So the quicker you kind of accept it, and it's an ongoing kind of like adjustment.
Yeah,
And
tweaking.
Yeah, and we don't have children yet. Like that's something that we both want, and we're going to be looking at, you know, exploring in the next, I don't know,
Whenever it
time
happens.
to come.
Awesome, yeah.
So you know, I see with my nephews and my brother-in-law. He's like, you know, because like he'll call me on the weekend. And he'll be like, oh, what are you up to? And I'm like, oh, bro, just rolled out of bed, got to make some breakfast. And he's like, oh, yeah. And I'm like, oh, what about you? He goes, well, your nephews ran into my room at 5 a.m. And I'm like, oh, nah, don't want to borrow that.
Yeah.
And he goes, that's your future.
Yeah.
He goes, you wait. He goes, you wait until these little shits run into your room and jump on your balls at 5 a.m. I'm like, fuck that. So
Yeah, it's getting harder though, because aren't like marriage rates dropping, birth rates are dropping.
Bro,
Socially, something's happening. Divorce.
Divorce for many years. Like I haven't looked at the statistics lately, but divorce for many years is 2 out of 3.
Whoa.
So 2 out of 3 is more than half.
Yeah.
Right. And I look at my friends and my family, and I look at who's still together and who's divorced and what have you. And like my parents, as blessed as I am, they're beautiful people. As everyone sees their parents, but like my parents still fortunate enough to be married, haven't been divorced, and, they just celebrated their 35th or 36th wedding anniversary, whatever it is. And, I just say, like, I try and take from their relationship, their marriage, and be like, all right, what have they figured out that so many other relationships are failing to figure out?
Yeah.
And it's not even about like a divorce per se or separation per se. It's like who's in a marriage, but who more than that is in a happy marriage.
Yeah.
Like you talk about all these people that are married, heaps of people are married.
Yeah.
It doesn't really mean that much these days, but it's like who's happily married?
That's a lot harder question to answer.
Who's married 5, 10, 15, 20 years and still in love with their partner? It's a tricky one. And I find that, again, social media and the evolvement of society, it's destroying what marriage is. I even still, and I'm including myself in this, I struggle to kind of fathom okay, I'm married to someone. I'm just going to spend the rest of my life with them.
This is a commitment you make.
It's a commitment for the rest of your life. And it's like, all right, well, how do we look at this relationship? And it's almost like how do I stay in love?
That's
the trickiest thing.
That's really good, actually.
So,
Well, what I've understood is a few things. Having Esther Perel, if you haven't heard of her.
Okay.
Unreal. She's just like a love coach person, woman. Fuck me, but she was explaining like one thing is rituals. Just making sure you have date rituals, date nights.
I've heard this from many people.
Yeah,
actually.
man, constantly. And then the other thing as well was obviously you morph into each other, but being just separate enough that there's still some mystery to the other person.
Okay.
They're still growing slightly outside of you.
Yeah.
So that there is an other that you can fall in love with.
Yeah.
And you kind of need to go apart enough that you're growing, but you don't split too far. You keep your paths together.
Yeah.
But if you're just like this, there's like, I don't know, it just becomes mundane. There's really nothing there if you know everything to a T about them.
Yeah.
And you never will know everything to a T.
You can never know
You can never know someone ever. Like they're as complex as you are, but you think they're just this, just your partner,
My nonnu who I was talking about earlier, who she passed away last year, one of her famous things, and I'll never forget her saying this to me. It's a bit of an odd saying, but it makes sense when you think about it. She says, Rocc, you'll never truly know someone until you live with them. She goes, and then when you live with them, she goes, you still don't know them. So I think the whole meaning behind that saying is like, you'll never, ever truly know someone and what's going through their head. You just won't.
Yeah.
And, there was this famous author, I remember reading in a book once, and it said, it's not about two halves making a whole. It's about two wholes coming together.
Right.
Yeah, it's like two wholes coming together and complementing each other. They're like, if you come in half full
Exactly.
and this person comes in half full, you're expecting each other to fill up the other half. But if you're coming in as a half, how are you going to help fill up the other person?
Exactly.
Whereas if you're coming in fully complete and the other person is, then you can complement each other to then create something even bigger and better.
Exactly.
So, yeah.
Another banger is... I think in relationships, this one stuck with me, is it should never be 50% effort. It should always be both partners give 60% and take 40%.
Okay.
So both of your intentions are slightly giving more than you're taking. Still equals 100%.
Yeah.
But it just sets the dynamic of like giving to the partner more than you're taking.
Yeah. And I've heard, segue from that is at different times, this partner will be needing more. So this partner would have to meet them there.
Yeah.
And then vice versa. Like sometimes this partner will need more. So then this partner will have to meet them more. So at different times, you're going to be either giving more or taking more. but it's forever changing.
Of course.
It's
yeah.
not like, all right, well, I'm coming into a relationship. I'm going to provide the finances and mow the lawn. And if any robbers come, I'll deal with them. And
Yeah.
she's
I'm the
like,
man in the news. Hey,
yeah. And the wife being like, all right, well, I'll cook and I'll do the laundry, and that's kind of my part. Like, there are going to be times, and I think it gets even trickier when kids get added into the dynamic, where it's like, all right, shit, like the husband's come home, and the wife's like freaking dealing with like one kid throwing up and the other kid's like,
Bro, it's that as well, but it's with kids it adds a whole other layer of dynamics where it can also start to become, because every relationship has a tit for tat. Like you done that thing 5 fucking months ago, which accumulated to anyway. Like we all do it, but add kids into the mix where hopefully it doesn't happen. It's going to happen naturally, but at the bad extreme, kids start getting used as a tool against the other partner.
Okay,
You know what I mean? Especially in like a divorce or something. I'm just listening to a pod about some world's best divorce attorney or whatever. It's like that's when it gets most rough, is when you see they're literally like just using the kids as a complete weapon and litigating and just taking the other through the whole fucking law process with these kids as a fucking tool, basically.
It's I don't know. It's like like I said, I don't have children yet, and I don't know how it is. Like I've seen like my sister with my nephews and my other friends with their kids, and I find that same thing as like with my parents. Like I try and take the good traits and tools and skills that my parents have developed to keep a happy marriage.
Of course, yeah.
And I like try to take it and implement it in my own marriage. And then I watch how my sister and brother-in-law are, and other friends with their kids, and I watch the different parenting things, and I'm like, ooh, that seems to work. I like that. And then there's other things where I'm like, I would not do that with my kids.
Yeah.
I will not allow my kids to do that. And sometimes I think I'm a little bit too vocal. Like I'm an open book, yeah. So there's not much filter with me. So like I'll say to my wife, I'm like, oh, you see such and such with the kids, like I'll never do that. And she's like, be careful. She's like, be careful that you don't. Like she's like, because we don't know how it's gonna be.
That's a solid point, man.
So and one thing that I've heard many parents say to me is, you don't know what kind of kid you're gonna get.
That's another one. I never thought of that. You just don't.
Yeah, because I think before you have kids, you think, all right, I'm gonna get like this kid, and it's going to be a blank canvas, and then they will be the product of however a parent I am. I don't think that's how it is. I think you get a kid that already has these dynamics, and you got to kind of do the best job you can do, and maybe they turn out really good, or maybe they turn out, I don't know, not so good.
Sometimes maybe shit.
Yeah. So I think the perception of what being a parent's going to be before they come is one way, and then it completely changes when they actually get there.
Yeah, of course, man. Hopefully we'll find out,
God
man.
willing, man.
God willing.
God willing, we have some little extensions of ourselves.
Exactly, yeah. That's the beautiful part, yeah. And having all that knowledge, that's like the ultimate coaching, is everything you know about how to process and make a decision about anything. That's really what you're arming your kids with, is like giving them the tools to be able to make the decisions that life's going to throw at them. Because you're not going to be there the whole time. You can't, So at most, I think that's what we can do.
Yeah, that's the thing that scares the shit out of me.
Not being able to protect them.
Yeah, just being like, because I'm a bit of like, I wouldn't say, my wife will call me control freak. I don't think I'm a control freak. Maybe I'm a bit of control freak.
A little bit in there.
I just, look, obviously people feel safer when they know the outcome.
Of course. Yeah.
I wouldn't say that I need to have control of everything.
I do. I'm bad.
Yeah?
Yeah, I get like, I start sweat. It depends what the scenario is.
Okay.
But if there's a scenario I should have control and I'm not, I get like panic mode anxiety. Yeah.
So business for me, I'm like, okay, I need to know what's going on with my business. And I want to feel like, okay, if I do X, Y, Z, that will be the probable outcome. Whereas like if I'm going on holiday, I'm like, I'm going on holiday, I don't care what happens.
Yeah.
We could go to the beach, we can go to the gallery. I don't really care. As long as we're having a good time and we're relaxing, I don't need to have control over that situation. So I find with different things, but like with the life of my child, that is a massive thing. And I was saying to, and they're not even here yet, and I'm already, I'm already freaking out about it. But I said to my wife, I said, I think that's why we'll be so good. I believe that that's why we'll be so good parents, because we're super invested in our kids, and they're not even here yet.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like I see some of my friends, one in particular, he's got 3 children. And he's just so blasé, like he just doesn't care. And I'm like, that's so odd, because like as a father, I would really, I'd really want to be invested. Or what was the point of having it?
That's the other thing is like society's pushed away, because back in the day kids were like use them as labor.
Yeah.
So they like, so they had more social value.
Yeah.
Whereas now you have a kid and they're just an expense.
Yeah.
And then they hit 12 years old and they hate you, and then they hit 18 and then they hate you.
Yeah.
Like unless you obviously you got to try as much as you can.
Yeah.
But it's getting harder to justify a kid, literally financially alone. To justify a kid.
Yeah.
I think that's playing parts. I don't know, I'm talking shit, but why we're just as a group, it's just like, can I really have kids right now?
Yeah.
Not even do I want. Can I have them right now without fucking drowning? I don't know. You know?
Yeah, again with society, I feel like there's that part where it's like, can I afford them? Is it gonna? Can I?
It's so true, but
It's like, can I afford them? And it's not like, can I afford them? Like everyone can afford to have kids, right? But it's more along the lines of, what kind of life do you want that child to have? Like I've said to my wife, I'm like, all right, if we're gonna have kids, I'm like, 2 like non-negotiables is education and sporting. I want my kids to be educated, and I want them to do some sort of sport. I don't care if they're males, if they're females. I don't care what sport, but they need to be involved in physical activity, right?
Yeah.
And academics. Like we can send them to a private grammar school, we can send them to a public school. But if at the public school they need more support, I want to be able to pay for tutoring. Or if we're sending them to a private grammar school, well, if we can afford that, then awesome, right? But that's going to be the 2 non-negotiables for my kids. And as my mother would famously say, what I do for one of my children, I do for all of my children.
Of course, yeah.
So if I have my first kid, and I'm like, all right, man, you're going to freaking this A grade grammar school, and I'm going to put you in this soccer academy and whatever. When that next one comes along, I have to be able to offer the same opportunity to them.
Yeah.
I can't be like, well, we spent all the money on the first one, so you're going to go to this, dodgy friggin' sporting.
From that area.
Yeah, do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I didn't even consider that, to be honest.
I've thought this out well and true.
That's a whole other element. You've got to be the exact same amount.
You
That's
have to,
so
or else
true.
it's not fair. And
Yeah,
then, the second one or the first one, whichever order you do it in, they're going to be like, all right, well, you gave my older brother or sister, all this opportunity, and that's why they've done well in life. And for me, you gave me the leftovers, and that's why I've got a shit life.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I'd never want that on my conscience.
There's birds that I think when they realize one of the young isn't eating as much, and it basically becomes just like a detriment to the resources, they throw the little baby out of the nest. Yeah. But it's like to lock in the survival of the other 2. But if they or the babies themselves push the weakest one out.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so they're just lucky we're not birds. Let's be grateful we're not birds.
That sounds harsh.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So if you think you have it hard, thank God we're not a bird.
Yeah, think of the birds, man.
Think of the birds.
Think of the birds, the ones that get kicked out of the nest.
It's crazy, man.
Yeah.
I did want to ask you one final question.
Yep.
You've spoken about perfection and aiming for perfection. How do you know once you've perfected your body to the way you want it? When is enough in your view of it?
I think the beauty of the illusion of perfection is that in itself, that you're aiming for something that's unattainable. And it sounds a bit cooked, right? Because it's kind of like, all right, well, you're aiming for something, but you're never going to attain it. But if you don't aim for this, well, then what's the next peg down? And then if that's what you're aiming for, well, then what about if you don't even reach that? What about if you're here?
Right.
So I'd rather aim to be the best. They say that, what is it, reach for the stars or aim for the moon?
Yeah.
And then whatever you fall short of, it's still going to be something amazing. It's still going to be something great. I don't know. I get anxiety half-assing anything. Like if I go into something, good or bad, which is a bit dangerous, I'm not going to half-ass it. For example, like some of my mates were like, oh, come out for a drink. I'm like, nah, man, I don't want to get drunk, blah, blah, I don't want to have a hangover tomorrow. And they're like, well, no, just come out for 1 or 2. I'm like, I'm not going to come out for 1 or 2 drinks.
Yeah,
I'm coming out. We're going to get wild. We're going to get lit, and I'll pay for the damages later. You know what I mean?
Or I don't want it.
Or else I don't want to come out and tease myself with, 1 or 2 drinks. So I don't know. That's just how I am. And it's the same with bodybuilding. It's the same with my business. It's the same with how I do life. I want to kind of do it. perfect or do it to the best I can do it, or else I don't want to do it at all. So the thing with the body in particular, it's crazy because body dysmorphia is a real thing, right? And you look at the body and it's a hard pill to swallow, but everyone's dealt different genetics, right? So you kind of, in the bodybuilding world, it's tricky because you'll be like, all right, well, what's my best? What's the best I can be? It's like, all right, well, my shoulders are lacking, so I've got to bring up my shoulders, or my calves are lacking, so I've got to bring up my calves, or whatever it might have you.
Tweaking to a T, yeah.
So you're trying to, and that's what bodybuilding is. It's literally the development of every muscle group. And the difference kind of between, we won't talk about men's bikini, but the difference between
The real stuff.
the real stuff, which is classic or bodybuilding, is like classic is a more proportioned, balanced, symmetry look. Where you're trying to give off this classical look, this elegant look, that when you're posing, it's almost like a statue, like you're trying to create
Greek god, yeah.
like an Adonis. And when you look at like these old school, the golden era they call it, of these classical bodybuilders like Sergio Olivier or Arnold Schwarzenegger or there was Lou Ferrigno. There was what was the other guy's name? The short guy who used to compete against Arnie. He was in Pumping Iron. I forget his name. Franco Colombo.
You could have said any name there.
There's heaps, bro. There's heaps. I forget. I remember their bodies. Like I said, I'm shocked with names, but I remember the bodies and I remember the look. And just some of them, like you look at these guys, and it's not like, this is how I kind of put it into my own words. You look at them and you're like, how beautiful does their body look? It looks like a Greek statue or like an Adonis, or like, it's just pleasing to look at.
Yeah.
It's very aesthetic.
Peak human.
Whereas you look at bodybuilders, the Jay Cutlers, the Ronnie Colemans, the what was that? Rami, the Ramis, and the Hardy Chopins, and the Nick Walkers, all of these guys, and you're like, these guys are just a freak.
Yeah.
This guy's a monster.
Yeah, monster, yeah.
It's a different look. Like Sebum, Ramondo, these are classical boys.
Right.
You still look at their body, and yeah, they're huge. Like, they're whopping. And you're just like, they're still very nice to look at.
Yeah,
Their bodies are still very pleasant.
You said elegant, right?
Elegant, yeah.
That's the perfect
It's
word.
very picturesque.
Yeah.
Whereas you look at some of these bodybuilders, you're like, fuck, this guy just looks like a mutant. It's like he's looks like he's going to pop an eyeball if he does another bicep curl.
Angry croissant.
Yeah, but I can appreciate both because I know what it takes to attain either body.
Yeah.
And then again, that's what bodybuilding is. So it doesn't matter what category you're doing, but you're trying to perfect this look. So you literally, and this is the thing, like a lot of people will look at bodybuilders and be like, oh, they're arrogant, they're narcissistic, they're self-absorbed. And some, unfortunately, the majority are. They are, right? But a lot of them, when they're training, when they're taking photos of themselves, when they're posing, when they're looking in the mirror, they're actually looking at what's wrong with their body. They're not looking at what's right. They're not looking and be like, oh, I got a sick chest, I got mad buys. They're actually looking like, oh shit, like, okay, my buys are probably okay, but my triceps lacking. I need to fix my tris.
Right.
Oh, my lats are lacking. So you actually look like a lot of bodybuilders. They are very insecure and they have
searching kind of.
They have like, man, it's a dark world. Like, thankfully, I'm not that way inclined.
Okay.
My self-worth stems from other things. Like, my upbringing was really good. Like I said, I have two beautiful parents who have instilled these values in me that has nothing to do with self-image.
Right.
Obviously, I have some sense of self-image, and I know that I'm blessed with the body that I have, and I've worked hard for it, and I'll continue to kind of modify it in the way that I want or see fit, or if I compete, then I need to do whatever I need to do to be as successful as I can as a bodybuilder. Do I think I'm going to become a professional bodybuilder and go to Olympia? No, I don't. I've never thought that.
Okay.
And I've never wanted that. Would it be amazing? Yes, but I know the reality of the genetics, the drug use, everything that it comes with that.
Yeah.
And I know that that's not my destiny. I do bodybuilding because I love it.
Nice.
And I enjoy it. But is it me as a person? This is what I get frustrated at when people are like, oh, Rocc, he's a bodybuilder. I'm not a bodybuilder. Okay. I'm Rocci Calvi. I'm this person who, loves a laugh. I love food. I like bodybuilding. I love bodybuilding, whatever. I love all these things, but it's not who I am. Don't put me in that box.
Right.
I'm not a bodybuilder. I'm just Rocci. I'm just Rocc.
Yeah.
Yeah. Is bodybuilding something I love? Yeah, but I love food as well.
Yeah.
I love music. I love travel. Am I a muso? No. Am I a food expert? I think so sometimes. but do you know what I mean?
I do.
People just put you in this box, and it's sad because
Do you think that means they imply, like with bodybuilder, all these negative connotations
a
come
lot
with it?
of negative, and I feel like it's unfair, man.
Yeah.
Like, do I look at, like, for example, like, I feel like we're almost bodybuild shamed sometimes. Like, I've got a bit of muscle and I've got a couple of tattoos. So what does that mean? I'm uneducated, I'm a meathead, and I'm a narcissist, and I'm self-absorbed. Like, why do I get all those extra labels? Because I've actually created this look. It's like, all right, like, it's like, fat people, for example, like, if we want to go there, what am I going to say? Oh, that person's fat, they're lazy, they're uneducated. Oh, not uneducated, they're fat, they're gluttonous, they're selfish, they're this. Man, that person could have diabetes. That person could have a health issue. Like, I have people in my family who are overweight, not by choice.
Interesting.
You know what I mean? So not that I'm excusing people who are actually unhealthy and not doing anything about it. I'm not talking about those people. I'm talking about by people who are actually, because of health reasons, are overweight.
Yeah, but what I'm hearing is the point of you just don't clump people into a group.
You can't. And I know it's so easy to do.
Yeah.
And I even do it sometimes, but I always pull myself back. Like sometimes,
But I'm sure there's elements of you. We all have narcissistic elements. And don't you need to have that kind of self-absorbed element to be doing it? Like, I appreciate what you're saying. Like, I think the important part is not identifying with it and able to take the hat off. But I think don't you need that to survive in it?
I think it's the similar thing. Like along the years, like some people have said two things, which I find hilarious. Is some people be like, Rocc, and I don't hear this often, but I hear it sometimes. People go, Rocc, he's arrogant.
Okay.
And I'm like, arrogant? Like I'm not. I don't feel that I'm arrogant. I feel that I'm confident, and my confidence doesn't come from me thinking I'm better than anyone. My confidence, I believe, comes from I know exactly who I am, but I know exactly what I'm not. I know, like, my parents have brought me up with these values and these morals, and I do my best to outlive them. I fall short. Everyone falls short. We're all human, right? So I don't think that, these are my values, these are my morals. I know who I am, and I live this, so that's me. Nah, look, I know that this is what I aim to be. I do my best to do it. Sometimes I fall short, but I hope that the majority of the time that I'm living up to my own expectations.
Of course, yeah.
But I know exactly what I'm not. Like if someone says, are you this? I'm like, no, I'm not that. Or if someone says, are you that? I'm not that. And I never pretend to be. So am I arrogant? I wouldn't say I'm arrogant. Am I confident? Yes. But is it because of what I look like? No. It's because of maybe a little bit comes from, the body that I've created.
Yeah.
But it's not so much the look, it's the process I've gone through to obtain this body. And to obtain a body that's of musculature of a certain condition, it's a lot of hard work.
Yeah.
Like a lot of people see the body on social media, right? And it doesn't matter how good I look or how big or lean I get or whatever. They're just like, that's his body, and he's put up another photo of his body or whatever. They don't see the nights I'm at home with ice packs on my legs or rubbing Voltaren on my knees because I'm dying, or that I can't get to sleep because it doesn't matter what way I turn, I'm uncomfortable, or the amount of times like I'm on the cardio equipment and I'm just like, oh, fuck, I don't want to be doing this, but I have to. There's a mental pain, there's a physical pain, and everyone wants to ignore that. Everyone's like, he's probably taking steroids.
Yeah, and that's even the extreme scenarios. There's just the simple like getting up to do the thing. No one sees that having to move process either. It's just the result that we see. Yeah.
Yeah, it's bizarre, man. And I find that so many people, like some people don't want to bar of it. Some people are like, that's too extreme, or I don't really want to look like that. I'm happy being skinny. I'm happy being fat.
Yeah.
Or I'm happy being like this way. And if that's them, that's sweet. Like I don't want to be that. So I'm never going to be that. I don't put it on anyone else. This is a life I love living. This is a look that I love. So I'm going to keep doing it.
Yeah.
And I don't judge anyone else for how they look, like each to their own. But don't come to me and think, I hate it when I hear people say, if I just took gear, that's one of the most common things I've heard over the years. If I just took gear, I'd look like that. It's like, no, You fucking wouldn't.
Yeah, try it.
Like,
Show us.
I'll pay for all your gear. I'll pay for all your food and supplements. You do exactly what I've done, and we'll see if you have the same body. It's not. You need the mental tenacity. You need the physical tenacity. You need to learn. You need to get treatment. You know, like your genetics may not even allow you to get that. And that's going back to my other point before. Like some people are like, oh, would you want to, would you want to become a pro bodybuilder? To become a pro and get my pro card, yeah, I'd love that. If I was blessed with it, I'd love that. Is it my be all and end all? No, it's not. But and I've had this question asked me before. Some people are like, do you want to become pro and go to the Olympia? And I say to them, this is my exact answer. I say, it's not whether I want to or whether I don't want to. I can't because all the drugs in the world, all the steroids, all the hormones, all the other like growth hormones and all the training, all the food, genetically, I don't think I have the genetics.
Really?
To my belief, I don't think I have the genetics or the amount of time. Like you remember, with my whole journey, getting injured in America, coming back to Australia, I didn't start weight training until I was 21, right? And then by the time I even looked at competing and even considering taking things to the next level, I was already mid-20s.
Yeah.
Right? So my journey started a lot later. It's the same as like someone wanting to play soccer or football or basketball starting when they're like 18, 19, 20. You've already missed the boat.
Yeah, and identity-wise, you touched on it earlier. You're so much more than just that. You have to be, or to increase the chance, you have to be willing to drop off most things and really just narrow in on that.
Yeah, like these pros that are overseas in the Olympia, they will say, I'm a bodybuilder. This is me. This is who I am. And everything in their life revolves around bodybuilding, and bodybuilding is number one. And to be great at anything, football, basketball, tennis, golf, bodybuilding, anything, it needs to be the number one priority.
Right.
It needs to be a non-negotiable. If you want to be a pro and you want to be great or one of the greatest in the world, it's bodybuilding, then it's marriage, or then it's your job, and then it's your health, then it's anything. But that is number one. Same as basketball players, same as soccer players, same as anything. And soccer was that for me. So like I said, it was number one.
Yeah.
Before anything, before schooling, before eating, before sleeping, soccer was number one.
Yeah.
So you have to make it that, you have to be that obsessed to be great, right?
Yeah.
Bodybuilding for me is not that.
You've already had that kind of one-faced identity that you were ready to wear, and that died out.
And
so
that
it kind of, you didn't come into bodybuilding with that same, because that's the other thing is like, you've had the experience of, if that crashes, you don't need to have another ego death and find out who you are, because you've already got so many other domains now that it's not the only thing that you are, basically.
Yeah, and then if like someone said to me like being a pro in any sport, it's you got to be selfish, man. You got to be really selfish, and you've got to kind of you do sacrifice certain things. Like being a pro athlete, again, any sport, there is a lot of social sacrifice. You can't party. You can't just eat willy-nilly. You can't do what you want. Like if you have to train, you have to be fresh for training. If you're going to compete, you got to be fresh for competing. If you got to abstain from alcohol for a year, 2 years, you got to do that. Some people, like some of my clients, struggle to stick to a diet for 3-4 months. How are you going to stick to a diet for friggin' 10, 15 years?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And that's what it takes.
Yeah.
That's what it takes. And if you're not willing to do that, that's fine. Other people are, and those are the people who will make it.
Yeah. At least one person or whoever can accept the reality of that. That's a different story. Yeah.
And just one last thing. With bodybuilding in particular, and it is what it is. It's a bit different to other sports for two reasons. One, it's a 24-hour sport. So you've got to make sure you're getting the right amount of sleep, the right amount of food, the right amount of your training, recovery. Like it consumes your whole day, week, month, year. That's right. It is. Whereas I remember when I was, playing semi-professional soccer, playing in America on a scholarship. Yeah, we had 6 days of training, right? So we had two days where would just run. It was fitness based. We had another 2 days which was just ball skills. So we just would work with a ball. We had another day that was like was like this kind of like we'd study. So we'd watch replays of our training and games and would study just the game. And then there was one day where we had in the gym, which was strength and conditioning. So it was 6 days, but like the training would go for like 2 hours, 3 hours. And then we'd go eat like pretty much whatever we wanted, maybe some structure, and we'd sleep or whatever, but we'd still do social things, we'd go out. Bodybuilding, your whole day is like, all right, I've got to wake up, I've got to have this meal. Then I've got to wait 2-3 hours, then I've got to have my next meal.
Oh, yeah.
Then I've got to train. Then after I train, I've got to go get my treatment. Then I've got to stretch. Then I've got to practice posing. Then I've got to get in my steps and my cardio because I've got to meet a certain amount of steps before I get. It's your whole day.
Wow, yeah.
Over weeks, months, years. Yeah. So you don't get to switch off ever. So I can truly say it is one of the hardest sports.
Wow,
right? And then on top of that, it doesn't matter how much you want it or how hard you work. Your genetic potential is your genetic potential. So you're going to get to like a certain musculature, certain conditioning over a numerous round of years. And again, you'd want to start when you're maybe like, and there's bodybuilders starting as young as like 15, 16. And these are the ones who are making it to the pro stage. So I'm not saying that that's when you have to start. Like some people can start when they're 18, 19, 20 and just have the genetics where they just grow quick enough where they can get to this size. And again, enhanced or unenhanced, that's not even a topic of conversation. Even being enhanced, even utilizing all the magic and drugs in the world, you're only ever going to get to a certain point. If that point isn't competitive enough with these friggin' monsters that are now being created, you're just not going to do well.
Yeah, it's just the reality of the situation.
It's just the reality. Yeah. Whereas like with soccer or tennis or whatever, like starting at somewhat of a young age, like let's say you're in your teens and you start and you're not that great. Like I wasn't that great when I first started at 11 years old. But because I kind of started at 11, I had time to develop my skills, learn how to use my left foot, learn how to like dribble, learn how to shoot. I had one-on-one coaching, development. I could kind of like get to a point where it's like, fuck, he's good enough to play state level or, you know, international level or whatever. You can develop skills and work ethic and kind of get you over the line. Bodybuilding is not that.
Yeah.
And so many people don't want to hear that. And so many people are saying, oh, you're just saying that. No, that's the fact.
Yeah, you're not trying to gatekeep anything.
Man, I'm not trying I'm not saying this because I didn't make it and I wanted to make it. I've never really wanted to make it.
Yeah.
Like I enjoy bodybuilding. I love it. And
you acknowledge the real sacrifices.
I just acknowledge what it's going to take.
Yeah.
And it's like, not to say that I want that kind of life because I really don't. But I know that even if I did, it's unattainable for me. I'd highly doubt it. So if I started when I was, 15, 16 and I had a bit of a genetic structure, maybe I could, but I highly doubt it. And that's the other thing, like with certain people, and again, people don't want to hear this. When you look at where a muscle originates and inserts from, different people have different insertions, yeah? Okay. So I can get like two pretty much exactly the same people, like let's just call it a 20-year-old male or 20-year-old male. Same ethnicity, same kind of health, same everything, but this guy's tricep tendon is a bit longer than this guy's. This guy will always have a bigger tricep because there's less tendon there than this guy. Just genetically, he will. Yeah. He will. So he's at an advantage genetically. So it doesn't matter how hard this guy trains his triceps, as long as this guy's training somewhat the same, they're always going to be bigger. So he's always going to beat you on stage, and you're never going to win.
I've never heard it like that.
It's the harsh truth.
I didn't realize that was how, like, that was, because I understand there's different bodies, but I've never thought about why the bodies are different.
Yes.
Literally bone distance, height and whatnot.
Listen, and then like that's the other kind of debate people have, like, can a short bodybuilder beat a bigger bodybuilder? Yeah, you can, because like for his size, for his height, he might have enough, like Lee Priest. I don't know if you know Lee Priest. He's a perfect example. He was short, but his development, his origins and insertions, his muscle bellies, they were so big and full. He was like the perfect bodybuilder. Some people still, notably call him like the best bodybuilder, right? Yeah. And he was short. Like him compared to Arnie, like I think Lee Priest bet Arnie or bet Ronnie Coleman. He bet one of the greats. I think it was Ronnie Coleman. Ronnie Coleman lost to Lee Priest. Don't quote me, like look into it.
Shout out to the short kings though.
Yeah, but he was that well developed that he would beat guys who are way taller and bigger than him. Because when they're being judged, it's not about like, oh, this guy's taller, he's bigger, he's better. It's not how they judge. They judge on development, proportion, symmetry, conditioning. They judge on different things. So it's the development of the body, not how tall you are.
Yeah.
So yeah,
A lot in there.
I'm just spitting the truth.
No, yeah, exactly right. You mentioned the confidence though, because I think about that too, man. So I'm not unattractive. I can acknowledge that. You're obviously not unattractive either. But what came first? Do you reckon your confidence was built off being relatively good looking, and that allows you to be like? Because my thing as well is like, let's say not this haircut. I was experimenting with this. This isn't my default mode.
I was going to say you've changed it recently. You've done the shaved mullet look.
Yeah, I'm in my summer fucking...
it's all right. Bad boy.
Bad boy. I look angrier. I didn't mean to look this angry.
When I came in, I was like, is this guy going to rob me? Is this guy doing the podcast?
No, I realised. Everyone's like, you look like a fighter. I'm like, not the look I was going for. But when I usually got the hair, if I sharpen up and feel attractive, I can feel people feel my
your energy.
And then people usually are just a little more kinder, a little more willing to just offer me something. Not that it happens all the time, but I've noticed it, And then that kind of made me think, or makes me think, what level of attractiveness actually grants people opportunities? And who would I have been had I been... When I say attractive, let's say less symmetrical. Let's say my eyes were slightly more, my nose was just whatever, less attractive. Would the world have given the opportunities? And asking the question now, if you were less attractive, do you think you would have the same confidence? Or where would it come from?
I think two things. I think, it's like two or three things. It's, again, my confidence, my inner confidence, doesn't necessarily come from how I look. It's more about knowing who I am. I think when someone's really sure of who they are, because they're not trying to be anything else, they have this like confidence, like I know who I am, and I guess the energy, it just comes across. So people kind of like, oh, okay, here's someone. And I think because it's getting rarer and rarer these days, because of social media, because of, the way society, media communicates, like it's in our music, it's in our fashion, it's making people feel more insecure day by day. There's less people walking around that are like, I know who I am. There's less of it. So it's like so many people are insecure that it's like when you actually meet someone who's like sure of themselves and a little bit confident, you're like, oh, that's refreshing.
It's magnetic. Yeah.
So I think there's that. There is also, like I was having this conversation with a few friends lately. It's because like when we went to Thailand, right? You just walk around, and because I've said this to my friends, I've said this to my wife, I've said this to a few people, English isn't the international language.
Right.
The international language is muscle, right? And what I mean by that is you can literally walk into any room in any country, and you can walk into any environment, and if you have muscle on your body, whether you're male or female, it speaks volumes because people automatically, like, it's already telling something about you. It's like, this person is hardworking, this person can commit to something, this person cares.
It's just capable.
And it actually, it speaks volumes, man. It's like, fuck. Like, again, it doesn't matter whether you're male or female. If you have muscle on your body, it's almost like this automatic respect is given before you even open up your mouth, right? So I feel like, one, knowing who you are. Two is, having a body that you're proud of, right? And having a certain amount of muscle on your body, whether you're like a leaner athlete or like a big monster, it already speaks volumes. And then three, it is about the energy you protract. I feel like when I'm in a shit mood, right, and I, having one of my days, or I'm even feeling a little bit hangry and I walk into like a restaurant or a bar or whatever, my facial expressions and my body language, people are already hesitant to talk to me, or they're like, okay, this guy looks like he's in a bit of a shit mood, I'm not going to talk to him. So obviously that can shut down opportunities for you straight away.
Right.
Like walking into an interview, the way that you present yourself, or even if you're speaking to someone about a business opportunity and you seem unsure or your body language is a bit unsure, people are going to pick up on that straight away. Yeah. But if I'm well fed, well rested, and I'm oozing with energy, and I'm this business idea, it could be the worst business idea, But the way that I'm selling it, I'm like, oh, this business idea, blah, blah, blah. Even that it could be complete bullshit. People will be like buying into it. Because
Yeah.
they're like, wow, this guy really believes in it. His energy, his body language. Do you know what I mean?
You're showing competence in whatever it is you're talking about. It's like a
Yeah.
power move, but
Yes.
done right, basically.
Yes. So I think opportunities in regard to someone, how someone looks,
Yeah.
feels about themselves, knows themselves, those things combined, yeah, it will. It will either open doors for you or close
Yeah.
doors from you. I know people, and including myself somewhat, that have nice bodies, have had opportunities presented to them
Yeah.
because initially it was like, I just like this guy's energy and I like how he looks,
Yeah.
so I'm going to give him this opportunity. I may not have the degree or the business experience or the thing to deserve that opportunity, but it's been offered to me. And then it's up to you to kind of follow through.
Exactly right.
And prove yourself.
Yeah, yeah. And not to say like that means life is on easy mode.
No.
But it's like it's a different experience. But I try genuinely, again, I'm not calling myself attractive, but I do try ground myself in similar to how you want to have different or do have different identities. I never want to kind of consider myself attractive, even if sometimes in my experience that's what the external information says.
Yeah.
I try not like identify with that, because what if you do get in a horrible accident or something goes wrong, and you know what I mean, and your whole thing, your whole being was like good looking. You know what I mean? So yeah, I try to just be work on other domains so that you don't actually become like shallow, basically.
No,
It's-
100%. I think, man, I have a relationship with God. And I find that God always throws things at me. Like, for example, I might be having a moment where I'm feeling entitled, feeling like, well, I really deserve that, or I should have that, or, I've worked hard for this. Why isn't it coming to fruition? And then I'll see someone come past in like a wheelchair.
yeah.
And I'm like, oh, poor.
Yeah,
And I'll look at God, I'm like, really?
Like on cue.
I'll be like, really? And he'll be like, yeah, really. And then I'll humble myself and I'll be like, yeah, you know what? And then it'll remind me, like, I still have 2 legs to walk around.
Yeah.
It's always that, man. I'm telling you, like, I don't know. I have a spiritual side to me, and yeah, my belief in God and my relationship with God, that's the sort of stuff he does to me. So like I'll be thinking something or whatever, and then he'll just throw something at me.
Yeah,
Or
yeah.
like we were in Thailand recently, yeah? And we walked past this homeless person, and I was just like, poor, like we are so privileged in Australia. Like I bag out Australia all the time. I bag out our government. I bag out how much tax we pay. Like
Fuck COVID.
I'm forever complaining about tax, right? Hate tax. And I just, like going to Thailand, I was like, like you don't realize we're actually privileged to travel. Some people have never even traveled.
That's so true, man.
So like I'll be ignoring all that, and I'll be having a moment. I don't know. I'll be feeling sorry for myself for something, and then I'll like walk past this homeless person, and it was like God in my head saying, like you should give them money.
Yeah.
And as I'm walking, like 50% of my brain's like, all right, stop, give them money, like call out to your wife to stop walking, to get some money, to give it to them. And the other was like, nah, man, like, maybe they did something to deserve to be in that position. And I was like, don't think like that.
Yeah.
And then I'm fighting with both sides of my brain. And then as I'm walking, like the thoughts are fading. So I'm like kind of accepting the fact that I didn't give him any money.
Right, yeah.
And you know what God does? He's funny. I don't know, 30 meters down the road, bang, another one, but looks even worse. And then I was like, no. I was like, babe, hold up. Give me my wallet. And then I got some money out. And then even with this one, he looked bad. He looked terrible, but he was like full out of it. Like, I don't know if he's unconscious or sleeping or what. And I'm like, I got like a decent amount of money, like a decent amount of bucks. I'm like, nah, I really want to bless this person. Like, I'm not going to give it to everyone because like when
then that's kind of hard. How do you?
Nah, this is my rule, yeah. Because I've been to many countries and I've seen a lot of homeless.
Yeah.
And my rule is I'm not going to give money to
You're not
everyone.
going to fix the country.
Well, correct.
Yeah.
And I need money to pay for my accommodation and food, yeah? So I'm like, my rule is I'm not going to give money to everyone, but I'm going to choose someone who I feel like God really speaks to me
when
about.
you feel that, yeah.
When I really feel the conviction on my heart, and I'm going to bless them like crazy. Like I'll give them enough money to probably feed themselves for a week, let's say, right? So there was this one guy who was really bad. He was out of it. He looked terrible. And I was like, babe, give me all that. She's like, we need, I said, no, we'll get out more money. Like I got all of it, right? And I folded it in half and I was like, where am I going to put this? And then I was thinking, nah, if I put it like just here or just there, someone might rob this bloke. Like he's
Right.
going to take the money because he was
Yeah.
out cold.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
he was out. He was unconscious.
Yeah.
And I was like, no. I need him to know that I've given it to him. Not for me, but I need him to know that the money's
it
there,
exists,
that it
yeah,
exists,
yeah.
and I need him to know that it's not me, it's God who's blessing him, right? I'm kind of like really, that's like that's a real thing for me, right?
Yeah.
So I nudged him a bit, yeah, and he didn't wake up, and I'm like, shit. I need to give this guy some money. Like, I'm in this now. I've committed to it. I'm not going to walk away. So I'm like, give him like another little nudge. And he wakes up and he's got this like probably monster looking guy leaning over him. I think he shit himself a bit.
I mean, rightfully
Yeah,
so.
right, correct.
Go.
And he's like, oh, like this. And I was like, brother. And I don't know how much he understood, but I was like, brother, I see your need. I want you to know I love you. God loves you. And this is God. He's blessing you. And I gave it to him. And when he saw the money, he freaking, he started bowing to me. And I'm like, no. I'm like, don't bow to me. I'm like, this is for you.
Yeah.
Make sure like you buy food. Because sometimes I'll be hesitant because I'm like, if I give them money, are they going to buy drugs? Are they going to buy alcohol? Is it going to be detriment? But I was like, no. I'm trusting in this activity that I'm doing. Like God's got it under control. This is his purpose.
Yeah.
So like I gave him this money. He freaked out. I'm like, nah, it's all good. I just want you to know that this is God blessing you. It's not me. Don't give me the praise. Praise him.
Yeah.
And I gave it to him and I kept walking. And I don't know. I was like, kind of like, there's only so much of that I can do.
Of course.
But if I can do what I can do, then that's me kind of giving back. That's me blessing.
Well, you're putting good into the world.
Yeah.
And sometimes people just need to see it so that they can actually follow and do it themselves.
Yeah.
I had once, I was on the train, and there was this seemingly homeless guy literally going cart to cart. Cart to cart, passenger to passenger, just crying, asking people like, please, like, I forgot what his story was, but he's like, I just need it for one night. He just looked innocent. I don't know what, I didn't have any.
It was genuine.
Yeah, it looked like he just needed help in that moment. It didn't look like he's just,
just fishing for money.
Yeah, just fishing for money. So he's crying, blah, 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 and he's kind of gone past me into the other cart, and I see him in the other cart, and he's still just crying, going to anyone. Everyone's ignoring him, man. I'm like, nah. I'm like, fuck. I was just like, all right, get up. Got up, went to the other cart as he's still standing up. I just looked at him. I just shook his hand. No, sorry. I just gave him, I think it was like $20 even. Shook his hand, and then I got off the train because that was my stop, I look, it was crazy, bro. I know, first cart didn't give him anything. Second cart gave him nothing. Literally after I did it, people just started walking up to him. Blessing him, essentially lining up. But the thing I did notice as well is it was mostly women.
Okay.
So I don't know what that is, but I didn't see any men get up.
Yeah.
Women, and this guy was just crying, and they're giving him money, and then he got off the train at that stop, just standing there bawling his eyes out. And I'm like, I was furious, to be honest. I'm like, are you fuck? Like in my head, I'm just like, why did I need to get up
for other people
that to happen?
Take part.
Yeah, like that's just how I am, and I don't always give money. I just something felt real, and then it triggered this chain of events, and I was just like fuming for some reason.
What do you think that is? But like, let's rewind.
Yeah, oh God.
Now I'll ask you the question.
Yeah, the old Uno reverse.
What do you think that is? Do you think that that's a conviction on your heart that because of the way your parents brought you up? Do you have a relationship with God where you feel like God kind of created that situation for you too? Like, what do you think that was?
Why I got up, or why the
whole event? The whole event.
You're diving into my psychology.
Yeah, I thought I'd throw one back at you.
Yeah. I don't know how to answer that. At this point in time, I'm just kind of like, I just did what I did.
Yeah.
I don't really, there was just the circumstances of that made me me. Made me get up. It could be God. I don't know. I don't know.
I don't know if we're. I'm just doing it. You don't want to answer. You don't have to.
Right.
Being Lebanese, having a Lebanese upbringing, were you guys Christian or Catholic?
So
Lebanese?
born Muslim, yeah.
Okay, Muslim. Okay,
yeah. So I still hold on to Muslim values, but I sometimes switch hats depending on what mode of being I'm in, basically.
But would you say that you believe in God or a God? Yeah.
I believe in God, yes.
Yeah.
But I don't know if I believe in God. So these are the things I know are true.
Yeah.
I believe in God, but I don't believe humans can truly comprehend God.
Yeah.
So I believe in whatever version of God I believe in.
Yeah.
I don't think we'll ever truly capture God.
Yeah.
If that makes
Yeah,
sense.
yeah,
So
no, it does. It makes sense.
I believe in God, but I also don't think I'm truly believing in God. I don't think we're capable of
Understanding what he or it truly is.
Yeah, I don't think we have the ability to. Like what God's transcending existence, transcending time. We have these human like machines.
Yeah.
I don't know if we're going
Our
to be able
brains
to.
can't fathom.
That's just where my head goes. But in terms of my experience, like for that, I don't know. To be honest, in a weird way as well, I kind of do ask myself. I think I'm a good person.
Yeah.
Like I know I'm a good person at my core,
Yeah.
and I kind of sometimes ask myself like, why?
Yeah.
I don't know why I'm a good person, and I don't mean that in an arrogant way.
Yeah, no.
But like I mean it from
It's a
my heart.
good question.
Yeah. Like what makes someone good, and why am I? Because I've dealt with, I would call evil.
Yeah.
I've dealt with bad. I know what bad looks like,
Yeah.
and I'm like, why am I not that? And can I ever become that? I don't know, you know.
It's good. It's good questioning. It's good questioning, bro.
I don't know where it lands though. It's where it just lands is give the cunt $20 and walk off, bro.
This is a good answer. This is a good answer. No, it is.
Yeah.
It is good to sometimes. I think, again, because of the time that we live in and the fast pace that we go at, a lot of people don't ever stop and think or question. Too many people just accept.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And this goes across the board. Like the amount of misinformation on social media, people just accept it. They eat it up.
Yeah.
They eat it up. People eat up whatever suits their agenda.
Yeah.
So if this sounds good to me and it suits kind of like the agenda that I'm living, I'll take this
Yeah.
on board.
And I don't need to ask too many questions about myself. Sure.
Because it might be conflicting.
Yeah.
It's like if I do start to ask why this or why that, that might be uncomfortable.
Yeah.
People don't want to be uncomfortable.
But also to have, like, that's another thing is, like, what makes you interested in the things you're interested in? You also can't control that either. So my, like, philosophy kind of urge, I don't know what started that, but I also kind of, like, not that I, like, look at other people and I'm like, oh, I wish I could, but I can see why others are just like, they just don't care about that stuff because there's no answers.
Yeah.
So I can see why it's just a loop and why some people just simply don't.
Yeah.
They just don't ask the questions because they know we can't know either.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
But I guess, each to their own, and you don't really choose what body or what human you land in.
100%.
We're just kind of like, we're just on the journey, I guess.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, it's been a very good sit down.
Yeah, I've enjoyed it.
I really enjoyed it. Nice to meet you, man.
Yeah.
Honestly, it's been very good. It's been very good. I appreciate the time you've made, man. And I guess any closing thoughts? What are you thinking? What are you feeling?
Closing thoughts. Nah.
I think we've hit some good.
We've hit some good stuff.
Yeah.
We've hit some good stuff. Is there if there's any message I can get across? I don't know. I would feel like going back, because we've touched on a few things about identity. I feel like identity's been a bit of a theme. And I feel like two things. One, people like can create their own identity. So create whatever identity you want, like the person you want to be, you can create that. Don't just accept whatever labels put on you. Like I said before, people put labels on me and I'm like, no. Take that label off. I'm not that. I'm all of these things, but I'm not that.
Yeah.
So I think, create your own identity. Don't let people put you in a box, and don't always accept things. Like I was just saying, like people just accept a lot of, like for example, people will jump on and say, you have to, consume this amount of protein to, gain muscle tissue, blah, blah, blah. Go look into it. Some people will be like, oh, you have to do this exercise, because so many times I get questions thrown at me from my clients. They're like, oh, I saw this on social media, or I saw these people say, and I'm like, well, what's the science behind that?
Yeah.
So I encourage people, create your own identity, who you want to be, and let people, you be sure of that, and let other people know that that's who you are, and don't just accept everything in life. Question things. Like one of the first things we ever got told at uni, I think it was in my first 2 weeks of being at Vic Uni. One of the first things is they said, we're in the lecture theatre, it was 300-400 people, and I can't remember what subject it was. I think it was human phys. And the lecturer up the front said, what does science prove?
Okay.
Right? And all these students were like, trying to, seem cool and put things out. Science has proved this in the past, and science has proved blah, blah, blah. And then like 3 or 4 people answered and he goes, he's all wrong. And then like everyone was looking around at each other, and he goes, "Science proves nothing." He goes, "Science suggests."
Yeah.
He goes, "Science suggests this with certain studies that are done. This experiment suggested this. We did another experiment 5 years later. It replicated the same study. It actually suggested this."
It's the most truest at the time.
Correct.
Yeah,
So science always suggests things, but it gives us at least a basis of what the hypothesis is.
Yeah.
So I always encourage people, if you're gonna believe something a coach is saying, or anyone, doesn't have to be a fitness coach, can be a psychologist, it can be a lawyer, it can be whoever, a relationship counselor, whatever. If you're gonna take something off the internet or off social media and apply it to your life, at least look into the science behind it, or employ someone who has studied the science behind it.
Yeah.
So yeah, one, create identity, and two, be an analytical thinker with everything.
Yeah, and I think you've triggered a thought there. A big one as well for me is it's really good. Go into the things that you're actually scared to do.
Yeah.
Safely, of course, if it is safe to do so. But I put myself in a few unsafe situations.
Yeah.
And personally, I think it's controlled enough the way I've done it. Like, even if I go for a walk and I see like a weird spot, I'm like, I want to explore there.
Yeah.
And then like, or example, I've been on a hike and I see a fucking brown snake. I'm like, fuck you. I'm the human. I'm going to keep going. But like, so that's bad examples. Don't take that. But open, I think just even with identity, sorry to link it to what you're saying, don't be scared to explore. But also, if you're scared of something and something's pushing you away from a direction, or if it makes you angry and it triggers an emotion, it's probably a sign you should lean into that. There's probably something on the other end.
Get comfortable with being uncomfortable.
Yeah, exactly right. Bang on, man. Bang on.
Awesome.
Rocci,
Yes.
I'm sure we'll cross paths again, man.
Yeah, we'll do another one. We'll do another one
pleasure.
soon. If there's a topic or a theme that comes up and you feel like I can impart something worthy, we'll crack this again.
Well, that's it, man. I guess until the next time. Peace, man.
Thanks, my bro.